The afternoon sun shines on the man who is resting through the large French windows, the fine dust is lightly rolled, like a layer of broken silver filter. All Tanmi novels, www.mtlnovel.com. The man is quite tall, not a narrow seat, but it makes it impossible to put his long legs. Although the t-shirt on his body is a bit dated, even the socks have a hole, but it still doesn't look down and out, but has a different kind of free and easy. Only in the light, the shadows under his eyes could tell that he was not sleeping well. When the waiter passed by him, he unconsciously eased his steps, but they couldn't bear to disturb, but the little guys in the shop jumped on his knees eagerly. Awakened by the furry touch, Rongjing opened his eyes and saw a few cute creatures meowing at his feet. This is a cat cafe. There are all kinds of cats with beautiful bodies and different personalities. If you are a cat sucker, you might be tempted to shout, "Wow, is this heaven?" But for Rongjing, who is allergic, it is no small torture. The person to meet with him is here, and he can only bite the bullet and come. Rongjing looked at Jinjira, who easily jumped onto his knee with the help of a cat stool, and then at the red rash on his arm. Before falling asleep, he had asked the waiter for an anti-allergic medicine, but the effect was not so fast. The waiter also admired Rongjing's spirit of not fearing life and death in order to lick the cat, and led Jinjira down. But after a while, a big orange jumped on his lap again, and the big pie face looked at himself with special joy. Rongjing watched the rash gradually subsided, but he did not cruelly refuse the big orange. Seeing the waiter come again, Rongjing explained, "I know the rules, I didn't hold it." Cat cafes like this type have several unwritten regulations, such as no hugs, no flashing lights, no human food for cats, etc. The waiter first asked about his allergies, and then smiled after knowing that there was no problem. Explain, they usually don't bother to pick up guests. Today is so abnormal, probably because they are all Yang Kong. Such a cold super handsome guy, who doesn't want to take a look. Rongjing was born a little dull, with few expressions on his face, and short words. Only from the outside, he was cold and reserved. Many people were confused by his appearance. The quality of sleep for 3 consecutive days was worrying, and his nervous reaction became slower. After the waiter refilled him, he understood the meaning of the other party's words and touched the red earlobe. He picked up the phone again and checked the time. The other party had been late for more than an hour. The mobile phone is the most valuable thing on his body. Other belongings were stolen while sleeping in the shelter. Fortunately, the original owner was spared by holding the mobile phone tightly in his hand. Yes, the original owner. He is not the original owner of this body, he has traveled across this world. When he woke up, the original owner was dead. He roughly judged that the respiratory center of the oblongata was inhibited due to excessive alcoholism, which eventually caused suffocation and died. As a young man with a perfect worldview, even if he knows the word traversal, he still doubts its authenticity. These 3 days he had lived in a muddle-headed manner. I don't know what year it is, and the world suspects that the surrounding world suspects himself. It wasn't until I received the news from this little boyfriend that he simply packed up and rushed to the cat cafe to wait. The little boyfriend whom the original owner had the habit of being late, so he was not in a hurry to leave. He opens the search interface and enters SCL-90, which is a self-rating scale for testing mental health. It is suitable for most people who want to test their mental state. To put it simply, he wants to judge whether he has any delusions, so his brain suddenly there was a lot of memory in it, and it changed the world inexplicably. He suspects that he may have any cognitive impairment. This kind of self-rating scale can't explain any key issues, but at least it can be intuitive to see if he has a brain rot. Because of the fast pace of modern society, most people's psychology will be affected more or less by the environment. In addition, according to incomplete statistics, about 200,000 people die of depression in China every year. If early detection and early treatment can save more people, so self-assessment is nothing difficult to tell. SCL has 90 questions, involving 9 aspects from physical to mental, each with a score of 5. Rongjing worked on the questions one after another without any distractions, and the final assessment made him sturdy and relieved. He pays more attention to 2 of them, depressive mood F4198, which is judged to be normal. It may be that this value has reached the critical point because of the environmental impact of these few days. If the value of this item is mild or moderate, you should pay attention to it in the early stage and adjust yourself. If it becomes severe, you can only rely on drug treatment. Psychotic tendency F9165, judged as normal. The other scores fluctuate between 158 and 29, and the degree is mild or mild to moderate. This judgment is sufficient to prove that his mental state is good, not mentally ill. He was okay, he indirectly proved a fact, and he really went through it. He is in a real world, not his delusion. Well, no illness or disaster, why did you wear it? The big orange on his lap looked at the handsome guy in front of him with a look of impossibility, and he tilted his head in doubt. Daiju jumped off his knees gracefully and yelled twice. Rongjing couldn't stand the act of being a child of such a soft beauty. Even if he couldn't accept the crossing, he still followed Daiju to the front of a gasapon machine. After swiping the QR code, he twisted it with a cat snack. He squatted down and rubbed the jaws of the little beauties who came around. Hearing the soft voice, he felt better. No wonder so many people like to go to Mao Cafe, it's so healing. At this time, a burly man walked out of the bathroom next to him. When the man saw Rongjing, even if he used the scent-blocking spray, his aura suddenly changed when he saw someone stronger than himself. Rongjing's face was still stunned, but the male instinct and the stress response to his body made him suddenly stand up and look back indifferently. It only looked at each other for a few seconds. Rongjing looked at the back of the other party who had fled inexplicably. He just looked back politely. What happened? When I returned to my mind, I noticed the place where the man came out. There was a row of toilets there. Literally, it means 1 row, 6 restrooms, 6 genders. The man just came out of NA, and there are 3 genders of NB, no and the corresponding female. His original world had only 2 genders for men and women. This cognition has been fixed for more than 2 decades. Suddenly one day he crossed into the world of 6 genders, and his worldview seemed to be quietly shattering. Can't fight it anymore. Don't you think this is unreasonable? Rongjing looked around and watched the men and women around him teasing the cats. There were 6 genders, most of which were Oga. After seeing Rongjing's sight, a few Oga blushed, and a little beauty nodded to him. No one was surprised. Oh, get it, it's him who is unreasonable. Since people have 6 sexes, cats don't. Rongjing suddenly turned his head to look at a few kittens sticking to him. Are you Oga? Rongjing covered his face, resisting the urge to look away. He didn't want to be treated as a pervert. After feeding the snacks, I returned to the position again, and found that near the round sofa chair in the center of the hall, the customers who had been fond of playing cats pointed to the TV screen with excitement. Although excited, the cat cafe does not allow noise, that is TV. It is also almost silent. They can only lower the volume of speech, but they can also tell that they are excited from their body language. Rongjing also looked at the TV with curiosity, and was a little surprised by the people who appeared on it. When the waiter refilled the cup for him, he found the direction of his gaze. Seeing Rongjing's he was dumbfounded and he was quite proud of his idol. Does your husband like Gu Xi too? Gu Xi. Rongjing chewed these 2 words. Abo world, Gu Xi. I'm a bit familiar, have I forgotten something? There seems to be something wrong. The waiter nodded. He is recognized as a great beauty by Al-Ha. Did he make the Milky Way beautiful? As a man with a normal sexual orientation, no matter how beautiful he looks, he is unparalleled in the world. In essence, he is still a man. Rongjing, who has only 2 gender concepts, said that he would not be interested in men. This is impossible in this life or in the next life. Rongjing nodded politely because the waiting person hadn't come yet, and followed the topic: is he the idol who debuted recently? The waiter looked at him incredulously, like someone from a mountain. Don't you know him? Well, he is an actor. If idol can have acting skills, fans are more willing to call them actors with pride. He made his idol debut. He was popular all over the country. I don't know why, but he was silent for 3 years. Last year he starred in the 365 Days of Lotta. We fans waited for this day for 3 years. He played a talented and outstanding last year. The dancer who was amputated in a car accident, especially in the last scene, he was wrapped in a blood-stained bandage. When dancing, my whole body got goosebumps. He acted out the despair and sorrow of the protagonist. When the waiter talked about idols, he couldn't help but amway. After speaking, I remembered that the person in front of me was a guest, and immediately stopped talking and stooped to apologize again and again. Rongjing smiled and said that it was okay. He said inwardly that his sense of familiarity became stronger and stronger, especially the 365 Days of Lotta that the waiter said. He seemed to have heard it somewhere. It's like there is a truth in the distance, which can be grasped only by piercing a piece of paper. Rongjing turned on his phone and searched for the movie. A Maserati parked on the side of the road, and in the front passenger seat was an Oga dressed in sunglasses and a peaked cap. The visitor smiled beautifully at the person in the driving seat and got out of the car. As soon as the visitor arrived at the door, he was enthusiastically served by an Alha waiter. He took off his shoes and put on soft toes. Only when he saw Rongjing sitting by the window surrounded by cats, he frowned. As soon as Rongjing opened the search engine, he felt a shadow fall on his side, and when he looked up, he saw the person he was waiting for. When someone sees Rongjing who is looking up, he always feels that the other's temperament has changed greatly. The original only nonsense person, seeing that he is not fluent in words, unexpectedly can't see the slightest way of licking the dog, he waved it away. A strange feeling, coldly reprimanded, didn't you say that I am in the ascendant period, why choose the window? You deliberately? What if someone is secretly photographed? Although he hasn't made his debut yet, Lai Ren quite cherishes feathers. If in the past, Rongjing would apologize immediately, carefully apologize, and confess the other party as an ancestor, but today Rongjing stood up directly, staggered the people, and walked straight forward. The visitor was caught off guard and said angrily, "Wait, where are you going?" Rongjing was purely puzzled, "Didn't you say you want to change positions?" The visitor is the original owner's little boyfriend, Qi Ying, a senior at the Film and Television Academy, 1 year younger than the original owner. The original owner fell in love with him at a dinner, so he launched a fierce pursuit, but there is no shortage of suitors for all Oga. The original owner was just one of the humble alhas, so when Qi Ying agreed, Rongjing felt that he had won the jackpot. Not long after the relationship, Qi Ying made his debut as idol because of the signing of a brokerage company. An idol was the most taboo to fall in love, saying that he wanted to hide the relationship. The original owner expressed no objection to Qi Ying. Some time ago, the original owner quarreled with his family members and ran away angrily. He thought of staying at Qi Ying's house for a few days, but saw Qi Ying downstairs in a luxury car and took the initiative to kiss the owner of the luxury car. After multiple blows, the original owner went to the shelter temporarily. Unexpectedly, the room leaked in the night rain, and all his belongings were stolen in the shelter. Only one was left because he wanted to wait for Qi Ying's explanation and held it tightly in his hand. The phone is alive. The original owner waited and didn't wait for Qi Ying's words, plus he was upset, so he bought drunk and died. Rongjing was awakened by the cool breeze in the park. When he woke up, there were a pile of wine bottles around, both white and red. The card of the original owner was frozen, and the remaining cash was used to buy wine. It can be said that Rongjing is very poor now, so when he came to the cat cafe, he appeared embarrassed. Qi Ying looked at Rongjing, who had simply changed positions, as if he didn't know him. His eyes were a bit hot. If he was so powerful when he was pursuing himself, maybe he would not want to score a player now. But thinking of the decision he had made, he took a deep breath and solemnly said, "Let's break up." Qi Ying could predict what he would face. Even if Rongjing would cry and begging, he would not be softened this time. His web drama has entered the final review stage and will be broadcast soon. He will soon become popular, and Rongjing, who just graduated and failed to get an audition, will only become a stumbling block on his road to success. Since it is a stumbling block, it should be kicked. Seeing that Rongjing didn't answer, Qi Ying said patiently, "I hope you don't get stuck." Before I finished speaking, I got a reply in the next second. It is good. To be honest, as long as I think of maintaining a long-term close relationship with a man, my whole body is saying no. They are like me, full of straight men's desire to survive. The author has something to say about the opening of the new article. The outline has been changed several times, so every chapter is a passionate update, and it is hot. Thank you all the sweethearts who thundered in advance. Arctic Knight Rocket Launcher X2, Guka Landmine X7, Moshang Landmine X3, Taro Mud Bobo X2, Obscurity X1, Chi Green X1, Zyoka Kikakir X1, Flute Bubble X1, Hyulyul X1. Rongjing had always thought that the twisted melon was not sweet, so he broke up with Qi Ying when he found a chance and let him fly freely. The latest Dan Mei novel ranking, www.mtlnovel.com. Before he thought of a proper reason, the other party put it forward first. Is there such a good thing? Because of his slow and silent gap, Qi Ying was naturally mistaken for excessive sadness by Qi Ying. Hearing Rongjing's good word, I feel that Rongjing might be on the verge of collapse. No one understands the horror power of an Alha better than their Oga. Qi Ying's face was whole and her tone of voice became cautious. Rongjing, are you calm now? Qi Ying looked at her with thin arms and legs. Rongjing could knock him over with one arm. Never overestimate how good Alha can be after breaking up. If Rongjing was crying bitterly like before, begging him to change his mind, he wouldn't think too much. But now, with an indifferent expression and less words, how can he just say a word? It seems to be talking about something that has nothing to do with me. An Oga like him is already very difficult to condescend to accept Rongjing, so how could Rongjing be so indifferent to breaking up? It's impossible. So he must be patient, he must be very angry now. Qi Ying himself couldn't tell whether he wanted to watch Rongjing break out, or whether he wanted to leave things alone. Rongjing's reaction was beyond his expectation. The atmosphere was stiff. Rongjing raised his head and looked at Qi Ying, trying to tell him with a sincere look that he really agreed, "I'm very calm." Seeing Qi Ying's expression change from contempt to dissatisfaction to very subtle anger, Rongjing felt that people in this world are not the same as his hometown, and the man he met just now in front of the toilet was shocked, as if he were what a fierce beast that will violently attack at any time. Qi Yingze carefully observed for a while before he was sure that Rongjing had sincerely agreed to the breakup, and sincerely it didn't matter. "I don't know what's wrong," he obviously brought it up, "but there was a fire burning in my heart." He is a faculty member. He belongs to the Film Character Design Department of the Theatre Film and Television Art Design Institute of the Film Academy. Is it very long? When he took the exam, he obeyed the transfer. Except for the most popular performance department, the admission score of this department was the lowest. Here Qi Ying is a little clever. As long as you go out and say that you belong to the film school, no one outside will care about your specific department. In short, you will have the opportunity to get in touch with the director and screenwriter. Even if he is not a college or department, he is a rare Oga as a department flower, or Rongjing spent several years chasing him. How could he agree so easily? Is this appropriate? He looked at Rongjing, who was drinking a cappuccino and driving a cat, as if hearing Rongjing's silent answer was appropriate. Qi Ying was a little bit unwilling, always wanting to say something, at least to see Rongjing feel more intense for him. There are always many ways to deal with Alha, which is also the pride that he has cultivated for many years. Qi Ying was still sulking just now and she quickly turned into a crying look. I don't want it, I really don't want to make it like this. Look at you, as Alha, but you don't have the courage and charm you deserve. What a good audition opportunity you didn't seize. How many times have you let me down? After changing the original owner, he was already ashamed and dying in Qi Ying's soft words. But Rongjing's thinking has turned off. He saw a man who was so soft and weak, and he couldn't adapt himself to his body. He desperately told himself that the worldview can be rebuilt if it is broken. Although the process of accepting the 6 genders is difficult, it can be overcome slowly. In order not to embarrass the other party, he nodded politely. Seeing that it didn't work, Qi Ying took another drastic medicine. You always look forward and backward. How many betas are better than you? This sentence can be said to be an insult to Alha. No Alha can accept to be compared with beta. As he said, looking down the table, Rongjing had torn socks. If it is the original owner, I am afraid that he will want to find a hole in the ground at this time. The original owner is a person who does not want to lose face in front of Qi Ying, no matter how economical. But when it was changed to Rongjing, nothing happened. Qi Ying will never know that the person in front of him is in a fundamentally different thinking dimension. He didn't receive his transgender contempt at all. You know what I have always wanted, but you don't even have a chance to audition now. I can't see our future. In this way, what was originally Qi Ying's problem gradually turned into that Rongjing was too useless and disappointed him so much that he had no choice but to leave. Rongjing listened quietly, never refuting. Qi Ying suddenly felt that maybe Rongjing just loved him too much to behave plainly. Slowly, Qi Ying moved from the original mistake to the bitterness, and honestly talked about the difficulties of his life. During the period, Rongjing thoughtfully made him a cup of coffee, and felt that Rongjing was so good. If such an excellent licking dog is gone, can I find it again? Rongjing seems to be attentive, but in fact he has already wandered away. He stroked Kim Gradient on his knees, thinking about the person who had just glimpsed on TV and the movie. After Qi Ying said dryly, he finally stopped talking. In fact, there was still a little bit of meaning. But in the evening, his funder arranged for him an internal audition for the new film director. He could not lose such a good opportunity. No matter how good Rongjing is, it is nothing but a licking dog that is tasteless and a pity to abandon it. He is not wrong, this is a timely stop-loss. Thinking this way, Qi Ying's mentality is also a lot more balanced. Rongjing glanced at the phone time, remembering the effective time that the clerk told him, and seeing that it was about to arrive, he got up and decided to settle the bill. Qi Ying knew that Rongjing had always been thrifty and had a tight life. Now even his socks are torn, and his clothes have not been changed for several days. Rongjing rushed to check out but was stopped by Rongjing. I'll come. Rongjing breathed a sigh of relief when he finally sent away the problems left over by the original owner. He broke his fortune and eliminated the disaster. Besides, he still needs to have the demeanor of a man when he is away from home. It's still that short and powerful voice. Qi Ying's face blushed slightly, standing still, very obedient. Why do you feel that Rongjing suddenly became attractive? Is it an illusion? Seeing the cats at Rongjing's feet follow each other step by step, Qi Ying's expression is a little weird. Rongjing was a senior in his senior year. There were stray cats in the school before, but he never liked to get close to him. Moreover, he has been to this cat cafe many times, and the cat halls here are more arrogant than the others, and will not approach humans without any food in their hands. It is almost impossible to see them being so sticky to humans. Qi Ying, they seem to like you very much. Rongjing glanced at Jin Gradient who was lying on his feet, and said casually, ah. He was very popular with animals in his previous life, so he didn't think anything was wrong. Before leaving, Qi Ying looked at Rongjing's desolate appearance, and it was rare for him to feel sorry for him. He had an audition opportunity that he gave up, and he didn't consider it because the role was inappropriate. He asked the waiter for a pen, wrote down the time and place of the audition, and stuffed it into Rongjing's hands, and said earnestly, "Don't live in a muddle-headed way anymore. If this goes on, no Oga will be willing to succumb to you, Alha should." Promising. Rongjing was a well-trained person in the original world. Even if he didn't agree with him, he was willing to listen to the opinions of others, and seldom embarrassed people face to face. And his nerve reflex was 1 second slower than ordinary people, and he responded, "I will consider your opinion." In Rongjing's memory, the original host's little boyfriend was a difficult and willful host, so Rongjing's principle today is to follow the other party. He was just a normal tone, but he seemed sincere and serious in other people's ears. Qi Ying felt that she had hit the cotton with a punch, and she couldn't say what she was left with. Neither of them noticed. The other Red Oga who came to check out looked at Qi Ying with disdain. Rongjing brushed the original owner's huibi, and saw that the arrears above had to be paid off at the beginning of the next month before it counted interest. He felt a sense of urgency to make money immediately. Speaking of which, the world has moved greatly, huibi is still strong. He has searched for the names of celebrities in his hometown, and they have not appeared in this world. After the checkout, the phone rang. Rongjing saw the caller ID, his heart jumped slightly, put the slippers back on the disinfection machine, and walked out quickly. As soon as he left, the red-clothed Oga stopped Qi Ying. "Hey, why did I hear what you said just now so uncomfortable?" The caller was the mother of the original owner, and the voice on the other end of the phone was cautious. "Your father said that if you can come back, you will unfreeze your card." Rongjing didn't know how to answer for a while. This silence was the same as the original owner. The people on the other end are also used to it, and choked with words, "Come back and see me, okay, this is also your home." Someone seemed to pass by on the other end of the phone, and he snorted coldly when he heard the words of the original owner's mother. "Since you are so sturdy, just die outside and don't step on the dirty land of my house. I am disgusted." Rongjing frowned when he heard the other party's voice. The anger and sadness that belonged to the original owner surged to my heart, and wanted to refute a few words for the original owner, but no one in that family wanted to know the original owner, so he gave up. The reason is for those who are willing to listen, otherwise it will be of any use even if you vent your emotions. The original owner's mother was startled by the voice behind her, and tremblingly said, Second master." After saying that, there was a beeping sound and I was hung up. What's the situation of that home is in the memory of the original owner. This call also means that running away from home is about to come to an end, and maybe a second call will soon be received. However, compared to the embarrassing situation facing home, he is more worried about facing the mother who is most familiar with the original owner. If he is seen as weird, it will be a big trouble, although the world has not yet come out of this kind of film and television works. He didn't plan to play the original owner, just for the time being. It would be too cruel and inhumane if he played another person in the days to come. When he returned to Magia, he left after only wanting to say hello, but saw that Qi Ying hadn't left the cashier, and was arguing with a red-clothed Oga. The volume was getting louder and louder. "What's the situation?" This red-clothed Oga is a little familiar. He is the person who nodded to him just now by the round sofa. Wearing a red-tipped shoulder, Oga, who is indistinguishable from men and women, stroked his long curly hair very confidently. "I'm willing, I can raise him." "What age is it? Who stipulates that Alha must make money?" "Let Alha make money, why don't I have a good life?" Qi Ying is accustomed to being arrogant, and most annoys others to refute him, glaring at him. "Oh, where's the Xiaolang Huo? I can smell a commotion from a distance. This is my business with him, so please don't participate." Red Oga is not a good stubble. "Listen to what you just said, this is a breakup. After a breakup, he is single and anyone can chase after him. The old lady just saw that you were not pleasing to your eyes. She didn't take off her sunglasses when she entered the room and thought she was big celebrity. May I ask, who knows you? Slightly this sentence stepped on Qi Ying's pain, and immediately satirized whether the other party was male or female. Rong Jing, who is at the center of their topic, thinks of the shy and gentle appearance of the two people before. Most of the time, it is true. The impression of Olga is sweet and pleasant. Even if Qi Ying sometimes doesn't speak so nicely, she is still quiet. But once Alha is gone, oh, there seem to be two faces? Rong Jing looked at it strangely, and found that other Alhas around him also had similar expressions, probably because their inherent impression of Olga had been refreshed, and by the way, they shattered their outlook on life. It seems that although the world is different, the viewpoints are still interlinked. One of the Alha who recognized him sitting in the distance gave him a thumbs up. All Alhas who can make Olga jealous for themselves are wolves in love. Rong Jing, who was regarded as a love war wolf, did not want to claim this title, and silently quit the group chat. Rong Jing left the cat cafe amidst the meowing sounds of several cats. No way, the effect of the medicine is almost over, he doesn't want to go to the hospital to suffer, the most important thing is, shy in his pocket. Rong Jing was walking on the road of Xinshija, looking at the scenery and pedestrians on the road, even the car can see the brand of his hometown. In fact, ignoring the 6 genders, the other differences are not too big. Thinking of what he was concerned about just now, he took out his phone and entered the search bar. It was the 365 days of Lada mentioned by the waiter. The still picture was a profile of the starring Gu Xi, just hitting his stained face. Only one pair of eyes seems to contain the light of hope, not a very special composition, but attractive enough. The plot mainly tells about a family from a poor family living in the basement with relief funds. The protagonist's parents were born but did not raise it. As the eldest son, the protagonist Lada takes on the heavy responsibility of caring for his younger siblings at a young age, and runs out of food to eat. By all means. When he grew up, his parents felt crooked when they saw him look good. The protagonist broke his finger bones and escaped from the prison that shackled him with blood. Finally, he met the first noble man in his life and discovered his talent for dancing. However, on the day he decided to go abroad, in order to save the little girl in a car accident and was amputated, the protagonist was wrapped in a blood-stained bandage and brought to the stage. After dancing a dance, he lost his life on the stage of his dreams. This movie mainly talks about the last 365 days of his life. The previous waiter Mway's was the last scene of this movie. Rong Jing turned over the stills. Even if he hadn't watched the show, it was quite shocking. Rong Jing looked at the comments and said that this is Gu Xi's first work after 3 years of silence. It is really amazing and a blockbuster. This film was undoubtedly a success as an opportunity to bring him back to the public eye. It is also said that this movie mirrors Gu Xi's childhood, otherwise, why could he act so superbly, as if he had experienced it in person? The screenwriter also said in an interview after the release that he was indeed inspired by the movie after learning about Gu Xi's life. However, some fans refuted that it was just because Gu Xi's acting skills were good, and he could not be measured by ordinary idol standards. Gu Xi, Gu Xi. Rong Jing whispered these 2 words. Where is he familiar with? Rong Jing grabbed his hair. This feeling of just being close to the door was too scratching. But Rong Jing is not a very obsessive person. If you can't remember, then forget it. He believes that human memory has blind spots, and will automatically put things that are not important and not deliberately remembered in the corners of the hippocampus, and it takes a certain amount of stimulation to remember it again. He doesn't like to force himself. In the previous evaluation of SCL, in the column of paranoia, Rong Jing's score was F8155, a super low score, which shows that he is a person with almost no paranoia. Since the question of familiarity has no clue for the time being, I don't want to do it for the time being. There is another difficulty before him, which is related to whether he can integrate into this world well. 15 minutes later, a handsome tall man sat beside the flower bed on the roadside, watching the pedestrians on the road with his eyes. For every noteworthy person, he will stay there for a while, as if thinking about a problem of the century. Some Oga avoided shyness in his gaze, and some Alha thought it was provocative and angry looking back. More often, it was a group of people passing by without any feeling. Rongjing guessed that this should be the beta with the largest number of people. That's right, the human observer on the roadside is Rongjing. No matter how much computer data he sees, he doesn't have the truth from his own field observation. Look more, it will always be useful. He is also a stupid way, he can't always ask someone in the future and ask which one of the ABO are you? He doesn't know why people in this world can perceive the 6 genders naturally. It is good to distinguish between men and women, but ABO may be confused. After all, human beings are a kaleidoscope of races. According to his search software, A is mostly strong and tall. This is easy to understand. He can use himself as a reference, accounting for 20 of the population. Most of them are delicate and need protection. There are glands behind the neck, and the body is also petite and exquisite, but he remembered that the official information of Gu Xi just checked showed that his height was quite high, reaching some weak standards, so the data was not absolute. It accounts for about 65 of the population, and even the threshold of 10 is far from reaching the threshold. This can also understand why when Qi Ying agreed, the original owner was so happy that he almost had a myocardial infarction. The number of O is too small, it is impossible for those with excellent conditions to force themselves to be ordinary A, they are qualified to choose. Qi Ying's words of educating Rongjing before were also because of this environment. Okay? What about B, where did B go? Rongjing thought he had missed it, so he searched again. Oh, it was in the corner. The relevant information of B is scarce. Rongjing turned it over again, and found a few forums that mentioned B. The most comments on B were mediocre, ordinary, and featureless. No, do people in your world also engage in sexism? Isn't B worthy of a position? The author has something to say and can't change it, just post it like this. It's been a long time since I posted a new article. After seeing the encouragement from the babies, Hong Kong Zhen, I'm afraid to let you down, and will do my best. If you don't like it, then I will think of a way. Thank you for the 66 little angels who cast mines, Ming Jun, Uni Bobo, Zi Han, Qing Shan Limo Yuan, Water Dove, Frosty Frost, AIKK's Fatty Paper, Qing Chi, Little Rose, I Chang'an, Mian Dubai, Threatened One, thanks to the little angel who irrigated the nutrient solution for eating more vegetables, 40 bottles of more vegetables, 20 bottles a day and evening, 10 bottles of Chong Feng, Lai Hokan. Pull the card again to cut the abdomen, 5 bottles of Kuei, 3 bottles of Kinju, 2 bottles every day waiting for renewal, 1 bottle of vicious and clear ink. Thank you very much for your support, I will continue to work hard. In fact, B, like AO, occupies a proper place in the encyclopedia, including interpretation, reproduction, and gender characteristics. All Tanmei novels, www.mtlnovel.com. But that's all, except for regular web pages, the rest is rarely involved. It can be seen that AO is the king of traffic in this world. Rongjing searched for a while before he found a more pertinent report. B accounts for the largest proportion of the population, and it is also the cornerstone of the normal operation of society. Almost every industry has B. Because they are not interfered by pheromone, they can do many tasks that AO can't complete, and many outstanding talents stand out. Rongjing has a natural liking for B. Unlike A, B has a susceptible period of great emotional and physiological fluctuations, and is not like O has a estrus period known as a walking aphrodisiac. They are more like people in his original world. In Rongjing's view, being free from pheromone interference is really a bonus. He can't imagine how bearish he will be when he reaches the susceptible period. Even with a general understanding of this, Rongjing, who has been observing the roadside for a long time, is still a bit gender blind. It is impossible for each gender to put a mark on the forehead, it needs to be distinguished by itself. Can everyone in this world be able to distinguish accurately? Soon, he had the answer. People in this world also rely on long-term practice to get similar results, and there will be a rollover. The following is an interception of messages in well-known forums. You can ask if you are not afraid of being killed. It can be distinguished most of the time, and the AO feature is more obvious. But I missed it. Last time I mistaken an A for B, and almost never got killed. Now A is too irritable. He is so weak that he can blame me? This is metaphysics, I can only understand it. To sum it up, if you stray into this world, first look at the characteristics, and then rely on your feelings. When the fifth bag was bitten by a mosquito, Rongjing decided to stop work. As he expected, a second call came. This is a person who cannot be offended in the memory of the original owner. The background sound on the phone is a foreign language dialogue, and the memory is the voice of the other party's translation secretary. The caller's voice is rigid and full of the domineering alone of Al-Ha. It's me, there are 3 meetings, to make a long story short. And Han should have already said it, I won't repeat it, you remember to come back tomorrow night. Seeing that Rongjing didn't reply, the tone on the other side became more severe, there should be a certain degree of willfulness, don't go too far, it will make everyone embarrassed. The other party is nominally the eldest brother of this body, named Xieling, and the anti-Han in his mouth is the original owner's mother Hanli and Mei. Xieling has always said this in a unique tone, with absolute domineering, even through the phone, he can arouse the irritable gene in the body that is also Al-Ha, that kind of rattling atmosphere instantly explodes, and people close to Rongjing can feel it. The feeling of suffocation as if being pinched in the throat, one after another moved away from him. In fact, Rongjing, who was angry, still looked plain. Rongjing thought that the reason why the original owner ran away from home was really disgusting, and said slowly, there was no result in that matter. I am not afraid that I will do something worse when I come back. After the words over there, I don't know if I feel speechless about Rongjing's irony, or am surprised that Rongjing's attitude has changed. If Rongjing is mostly silent, this kind of ironic tone is almost invisible. After a long while, you are always our Xie family person. The original owner may not be able to hear the meaning of the other party's words, but Rongjing did. I didn't say I believed in Rongjing, but I didn't have a team either. This is already very rare in Xie's family. The original owner is very afraid of Xieling. In the eyes of the original owner, Xieling and stepfather are just as unreasonable, and they are both irresistible. But people are inherently complex creatures, and what they see is not necessarily true. He can use the memory of the original owner as a reference, and he wants to observe it with his own eyes. You are not afraid, so what am I afraid of? So. Rongjing knew that if he refused this time, the dialogue would not be so easy to talk. I will come back. Xieling was quite satisfied with Rongjing's answer, and her tone eased slightly, the card has been defrosted for you, remember to buy a suitable set of clothes. Several of Rongjing's cards were frozen by his stepfather. I don't know what Xieling used to persuade the stubborn middle-aged Al-Ha to agree to unfreeze, and asked, I just came back for a meal and bought clothes. And Han didn't say? There will be a banquet at home tomorrow night to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Dad and Aunt Han's marriage. Rongjing didn't think that the marriage of the original owner's mother was like a slave in the old society and served the slave owner. It needed to be celebrated. But obviously, the mother is the weak underbelly of the original owner. After inheriting this body, he has the responsibility to continue. This is why the other party knows that Rongjing cannot refuse. Rongjing hung up the phone and left a daze. He thought about the relationship profile of the Xie family and what role he played in it. When I returned to my mind, I discovered the weird surroundings. On the bustling square, there was a vacuum zone within 10 meters of him, and everyone walked around him. Rongjing's face was full of question marks. What happened? I smiled apologetically at the surroundings. I didn't know what to do, but the expressions that others avoided were understandable, and I took advantage of the trend and said that my attitude should not be wrong. This is the law of the jungle, he must adapt to the laws of each world if he wants to blend in. And his smile was actually a bit silly, and he couldn't tell that the anger just now came from him. The square is very close to the crossroads, and there are many cars parked at red lights. In a silver-grey nanny car, the assistant found a strange scene in the square, and whispered in a low voice, "It seems that something happened over there." This exclamation caught the attention of those who were resting aside. The man looked out the window and had already arrived near today's event location. He pressed his temples very exhaustedly, his face was hidden by the shadow falling from the roof of the car. In the dim darkness, only his eyes were bright and sharp, and he glanced at the square. The tall Alha. The sound like a clear spring in the mountains sounded, as if the air carried a fragrance unique to this person. That's an explosion. The little assistant thought he had heard this term, but couldn't remember it for a while. The man tapped the little assistant on the forehead, and said with a light smile, "Let you study the culture class and not listen. Alha is born to be superior to other genders in physique, cell activity, and physical fitness. Such advantages are also accompanied by sequelae, such as being too active, prone to emotional instability, and easy to overload. When an excellent Alha is angry, the normal functioning of cells may be interrupted, causing disorder. The concentration of blood in the brain causes the blood oxygen saturation in the body to decrease. Relatively, toxins rise and blood vessel pressure rises. That's why people often say that anger makes the brain hypoxia. This is not an illusion. Because of the cell activity, this phenomenon will only become more serious, so they need to regulate themselves. After the ancient Alha became an adult, the school would teach a lesson on how to control one's own emotions, transform anger into chi, release it from the body, and adjust the balance of the body. Such release is quite unfriendly to other genders. After all, it is Alha's chi. This method of adjustment is called explosive potential. However, in the past half a century, there have been very few explosions. The prerequisite for the explosive trend is that oneself is good enough, and this one alone can eliminate 90% of the Alha on the market. With the survival of the fittest in nature, with such excellent genetic Alha feathers and corners, only Alha that is extremely complete in all aspects can have a cell activity that is so high that it needs to explode. Moreover, this kind of self-regulation requires excellent psychological quality to adapt to transformation. However, the more excellent Alha, the more disgusted him. Because in his eyes, they are all beasts that use their own advantages. How can Rongjing understand these twists and turns? He doesn't even distinguish the 6 genders, let alone such complicated things, he just does things based on his feelings. I felt a palpitation inexplicably, as if being stared at by some cold-blooded animal for a while. Rongjing pressed his heart that was beating suddenly, and looked around. There was no one else. He attributed this to the hallucinations he had passed through. He felt anxious, because he drank too much in the cat cafe just now. At this time, the sky was completely dark, and the nightlife of this city officially kicked off. Because the toilets occupies a large area, public toilets are rarely seen on the roadside. Rongjing looked at the phone with 5% of the power left, and quickly found that the nearest toilet was in a nearby shopping mall. As soon as I arrived near the mall, I found several exits were blocked. The screams came and went one after another. Many young men and women were holding a cheer card. It should be a star coming over. This kind of scene has been seen in the world before, but here is a carnival of 6 genders. The scene is more focused and a bit more focused. Scared the people of the earth. The original owner is more resident and afraid of the crowd. Although Rongjing was not afraid, seeing a lot of people, the physical reaction left by the original owner still made him tensed. Rongjing took a few deep breaths. He has always been good at regulating his emotions. After the mood eased, he walked in with the flow of people, and followed the signs, looking for the toilet all the way. However, the toilet I found was full of people, probably because there were too many people. Some people were impatient. Before reaching the door of the toilet, two alhas had a conflict, and the security was rushing to maintain order. Rongjing wanted to go to the second floor, but was squeezed back to the first floor by the crowd, and the atmosphere of the six genders was too chaotic, and he was really uncomfortable. Looking around at the dazzling array of shops, there can't be only one toilet on the first floor of such a big shopping mall. In the rest area not far away, several girls with headbands were handing out aids. They saw Rongjing standing in place like a lost lamb. The two girls pushed each other and finally walked towards Rongjing together. They smiled and greeted Rongjing, and asked him if he came to see today's our jewelry new product launch. Only then did Rongjing notice the waiting card next to the rest area. Isn't that Gu Xi, who he just checked? As soon as I heard the words Gu Xi, the sense of familiarity surged again. The front was covered with a layer of mist, and it felt a bit uncomfortable, as if you were scratching your boots. The spokesperson of this jewelry seemed to be Gu Xi. Seeing that he didn't deny it, the two girls looked at each other and asked some questions about Gu Xi excitedly. Because I just read the information, Rongjing answered, strangely, but why do you want to ask this? Don't you even know the process? Didn't you come to see Gu Xi? Ah, no. I'm just a pure impatience. Then how do you know so many things about Gu Xi, even remember his height and weight so clearly? The two girls didn't believe it at all, and they looked like don't deceive others. They thought it was just that this alha was shy and looked tall and tall. But so beautiful, so cute. Thinking of this, he generously stuffed the two most expensive items in his aid, a rhinestone bracelet and a peaked cap, with Gu Xi's face printed on them. Rongjing wanted to refuse. He glanced at the 360 degrees face without dead ends on the cap. Who would be willing to throw it away when he grows up like this? Rongjing is only a sexual woman, but his aesthetics is normal, and there is no need to refuse to appreciate beautiful people and things. Gu Xi belongs to the type in his world where boys should protect themselves when they go out. The bracelet is made of black leather, and the pendant underneath is Gu Xi's Q version of the small face. Rongjing also clasped it into his hand following the trend. The two girls pointed him the direction of the home court, where the stage had been set up, and the host's passionate voice could be heard. Rongjing is also very curious about Gu Xi, and of course he would like to meet when he has the opportunity. Maybe he can remember anything, but now his physical needs have the upper hand. With a blushing face, Rongjing asked the two girls embarrassingly if there are any toilets with fewer people. The two girls are frequent customers of this mall. They knew that there was an internal toilet, which was specially used for receiving VIPs. They pointed him the direction, which would not be shown on the road sign. The two girls were very enthusiastic and drew a simple sketch for Rongjing. Rongjing guessed that these two girls should be VIPs themselves, otherwise it would be impossible to know so clearly. Suddenly thinking of a sentence on the internet in the past, I am embarrassed to chase stars if I am not embarrassed these years. Rongjing thought that some fans on the forum said that Gu Xi never accepts expensive gifts from fans. He thinks that Gu Xi's 3 views are right. Since it is for VIP use, it must have VIP ostentation. 6 rooms are indispensable. There are also 2 maternity rooms and several rest rooms next to it. The area is twice as large as a normal toilet, and it looks like a small one. Apartment. However, Rongjing was also a person used to seeing the world in his previous life, and he started to do business with only one sentence of emotion. Because I was worried that I would go to the wrong single room, I carefully looked at the icons above each room. It's one thing to have a memory. It's still not accustomed to do it yourself. Forgive a stranger for the difficulty of surviving in a foreign country. As soon as Rongjing took his steps, he did not notice a person walking in a hurry from behind. His straight long legs were wrapped in suit trousers, and the swift and smooth legs could be vaguely seen while walking. The visitor held something in his hand, tucked it in his sleeve, wearing a peaked cap and a black mask. Maybe it was because he walked too hurriedly and collided with Rongjing, who had finally decided which single room to go to. A faint breath floated over, Can't tell what the fragrance is, but it seems that every molecule exudes a deadly appeal like a poppy. How to describe it? Not good smell can be summarized simply, it can stimulate people's physiology. A smell that no alha could refuse. Rongjing was naturally not immune, and his body almost instinctively helped him take another breath, causing him to feel a little dizzy now. This kind of dizziness is like blowing a bottle of urquatu at a meal that cannot be avoided in the previous life. In his current state, he probably had blown 10 bottles of urquatu, a little bit drunk. This extreme temptation, if there seems to be no land to occupy the surrounding air, the cells in the body seem to be activated, and Rongjing's eyes are instantly congested. Good head. The author has something to say that dying is just physical instinct, he is very straight. Believe me, look at my Bilg's Kazilan's eyes, is it very convincing? The physical changes in anger come from data. Thank you for the 10 little angels who cast mines, Ming Jun, 1 Taro Nibo, Nana, Smile 007, Yu Xiaoyu, Actor Duo Kaiu, Jian Qingliangbing, Jing Fiyu, and Qing Shan Limo Yuan. Thank you for the little angel lantern for irrigating the nutrient solution. 15 bottles have been consumed, 10 bottles of my favorite main article, Yu Xiaoyu, 5 bottles of Yan Moi and Yunying, 2 3 5 6 7 9 1 7 3 bottles, 2 bottles of King Mo and peppermint essence, Lazy Dei Xianyu, Xiokio and 1 bottle without breaking. Thank you very much for your support, I will continue to work hard. From an outsider's point of view, Alha, who had finally chosen a single room, had just stepped forward and was rear-ended by the rampaging train behind him. Although the manpower is not small, Rongjing is tall, and quickly stabilizes the bottom plate, but the hat on his head is bumped to the ground. Affected by the charming fragrance, his head was still dizzy, and his eyes were still bloodshot. He knew that his state was not right, and there was something in his body about to move, as if to break through the shackles. Physical passion is beyond his control, but behavior is okay. At the moment above, he bit his tongue fiercely, and the rusty smell of blood made him retain a trace of clarity. The surroundings are very quiet, in sharp contrast with the bustling shopping malls. The unintentional bumps of the two sexes arouse silent sparks, and every nerve conveys the tremor from the soul. When the opponent was about to fall, Rongjing noticed in the blurry vision, enduring the dizziness, he first straightened the person who hit him, and then released his hand without reluctance, and he could feel the opponent even with the instant contact. Trembling, fear and rejection. The other party didn't feel Rongjing's kindness at all, especially when he discovered that he had accidentally bumped into Alha, and the emotion of rejection filled his whole body. Yu Guang vaguely saw the cheering hat falling on the ground, and almost rushed into the single room belonging to Oga while standing still, as if there was a hungry wolf chasing after him. With strong willpower, Rongjing stood in place like a nail. When the pain overwhelmed other perceptions, the teeth that had been biting the tongue were loosened. Is that the Oga's pheromone? Seeing is better than hearing it. The above can drive mad people. No wonder people of this gender need to be protected. Can it be unprotected? It will cause social unrest. Although the train that hit him was tightly wrapped up and down, and even his face was covered by a combination of peaked caps and masks, it was Oga in all likelihood. Rongjing only knew from the text description that many Oga pheromones are very attractive. It's tempting, probably there are only some scarce text descriptions, but he can also feel it from the memory of the original owner. It's just that in the memory of the original owner, there is no such thing. Or is he lucky enough to get a particularly good one? And memory is memory, not his own experience. This time it was his real first news. It was a bit unbearable. The people in this world are really humble. Is this just tempting? Does it kill you? Rongjing went to Anna to solve his physical needs. After he came out, he still shook his head a little dizzy, and pressed his temples harder with one hand. Although the situation was the most serious when I was close, and with the improvement of the shopping mall's air purification equipment, the smell has dissipated a bit, but the stamina in the body has not disappeared. He considers himself to be a person with good willpower. In his previous life, he was able to both enjoy and endure hardships. When he saw the 6 gender profiles, he was quite confident that he could carry it. The facts proved that he was too naive. Enter a whole new world rashly and never make judgments about things you don't understand. Rongjing glanced at the annos not far away, and after smelling the air, there was still a bit of residue. Although it was a VIP bathroom, knowing that there were not many people here, it was difficult to guarantee that no one else would come. He planned to go immediately. Buy a bottle of odor-blocking spray nearby, and cover the smell in the air, otherwise it will be good to wait for the people inside if they are in danger. I just walked a few steps, thinking of something, and heading back to the single-room anno, which belongs to the male Oga. Gu Xi felt a little uncomfortable when she got out of the nanny car before, and she became more dizzy after standing for the endorsement jewelry for a while. He thought it was caused by being too tired, so he took a break in the lounge. I used an enhanced version of the scent-blocking spray, and asked the assistants to wait in the car before thinking about it. In order to prevent accidents, they brought inhibitors. He has always been independent, coming to the VIP bathroom all the way through a dedicated passage, but he unexpectedly gets more and more uncomfortable. Every step of the way is like stepping on cotton, and he is almost unable to walk. He thought it might be the estrus period. The reason why he was not so sure was due to the lack of food and clothing in his childhood and adolescence. He suffered from an eating disorder, commonly known as anorexia nervosa. Originally it was only mildly ill, but because he was not treated in time, he was delayed and was dying. After returning from a life, his estrus period was extremely unstable. Sometimes it didn't come for a few years, sometimes it came 3 times a month. Before this time, he hadn't been in estrus for a year and a half, and he felt a little strange to it. After adulthood, the Oga that is not broken will have a 7-day estrus period every 6 months. During this period, the conditional Oga will stay at home and wait for the time to pass, but most Oga also have their own study and work. It is difficult to stop and stop. Just like Gu Xi, if he calls a halt, the high liquidated damages can overwhelm him, and he will usually get through with inhibitors during this period of time. Even if most inhibitors are very harmful to the body, they will do so. When he arrived near the toilet, he was already uncomfortable with the blur in front of his eyes. If it were not for the strong blocking of the existence of the spray, his breath would cause a group of hungry wolves to rush for food at the beginning. Just because he was too dizzy, he just vaguely perceives that there may be something in front of him, as if it is something like a wooden stake. Unexpectedly, the wooden stake was still a living thing, not only a living thing, but also a rather restrained Alha. At that moment, Gu Xi was desperate. Why is it Alha? He knows that his pheromone is different from other Oga, even if it is covered by a barrier spray, only a few leaks, it is still very powerful. But what he faced was an Alha. He gritted his teeth and pulled out the knife he was carrying. If this Alha thought that he could bully him, it would be a big mistake. Unexpectedly, the other party just helped him, who was about to fall, and then let go. Obviously I was so close just now, I definitely smelled it. He didn't have time to think about it, withdrew his sword, just want to leave quickly. But in the peripheral vision, he saw the cheering hat falling on the marble floor, and he flushed into the toilet with fear. Rongjing didn't know that at the moment of his death, he was almost taken care of by the opponent. After Gu Xi rushed into the compartment, she almost didn't even think about it, opened the inhibitor that had been hidden in her sleeve, and skillfully bit open the disposable needle, trembling hand to inject the liquid into the vein, took a few breaths, and took out the odor blocker. Spray, spray to the glands behind the neck. After doing all this, he sat weakly on the toilet, waiting for the effect of the inhibitor to come up, and the body was accompanied by a slight pain in the process. Gu Xi frowned and closed her eyes tightly. At this time of suffering, I vaguely sensed a sound of footsteps approaching, and opened my eyes suddenly, looking sharply through the door, looking in the direction of the door. Oh, forgot to close the door. I was so anxious just now, how could he take care of it? Gu Xi was really panicked. Did that Alha recognize him? No, maybe it's just attracted by his pheromone. He has seen a lot of people who are usually gentle on the surface and look good on the outside, but when he smells his pheromone, he turns to Alha, who is guilty of the guts. After a few losses, he doesn't dare to report anything. Fantasy. In his current state, the frontal confrontation is simply a dream. Listening to the sound of footsteps in the distance getting closer, the sound of stepping on the floor was like dancing on the tip of his heart. Getting closer. Gu Xi stared at the partition door in front of him, not knowing that this door could withstand several Alha attacks. He drew out the self-defense knife again, bent over to take the mini electric stun sticks in his shoes, holding them tightly as if this were his last support, even breathing lightly, for fear of being heard. Just when Gu Xi was fully armed and ready to fight, he heard the footsteps stop at the door, and the gentle voice sounded, "Sir, I'm sorry when I hit someone, right?" The person's attitude was not as excited as he thought, and it was unimaginably peaceful, but Gu Xi remained silent and did not relax even for a moment. Rongjing was worried that he would be dizzy, and then shouted "Mr." Snapped. Gu Xi bluffed and slapped the door. As if to make clear, he is not easy to mess with. Rongjing secretly said, so energetic, he certainly didn't faint. He came here by asking to see if the other party needed help. Since there is no response, it is an invisible rejection. Adults know the art of not disturbing. He pressed the button with his head still dizzy, and slowly closed the door, preventing all the breath from leaking out and keeping the opponent in the safest possible environment. Although he didn't get an apology, Rongjing didn't care too much. There was no need for others to cling to minor problems. After thinking about it, I closed the doors of the other 5 toilets next door, so that it was not obtrusive. Even if someone else smelled something, it would not immediately find the source. As soon as I closed the last door, I saw a pair of beautiful and fashionable men and women talking and laughing, pushing open the passage door and coming in. Rongjing raised his eyelids, and now there was a bit of diluted smell in the air. He walked quickly and stood in front of them. The toilet here is temporarily unavailable. The 2 men and women looked at their outfits as either rich or expensive. When they were about to ask why, they smelled something like nothing. Female O only feels that it smells good, but because it is already very weak, it smells more like some kind of perfume or barrier spray. But the male is different, he can sense that it is the breath of O, or the best O. Male sniffed a few more mouthfuls towards the air, instantly revealing a drunken ugly state, and constantly roaring like a bird of prey in estrus, as if searching for the source of the breath. Rongjing's eyelids twitched, and he thought of the ogre rampage, and he was in an abnormal state. This is definitely not a time when it doesn't matter to him. This has nothing to do with who the person inside is. Rongjing doesn't even know what the person who bumps into him looks like. He just feels that as a human, he can't lose even the most basic morals. The female O has never seen her male partner look like this. Anata, what's the matter with you? Don't scare me. Mela turned a deaf ear, and the sweet fragrance was close at hand. Alha had a very keen sense of smell when he was hunting. At that moment, an irritable breath emerged from male A, making Rongjing's skin feel a pinch of needles. Rongjing secretly said something bad, and a trace of decisiveness flashed in his gentle sight. He still has many doubts for the time being, but this does not prevent him from quickly responding appropriately. He came to the melee, as if concerned, while the female partner was not paying attention, a clean hand knife. Hacked it down. The man who withstood Rongjing's full blow, fell down and was easily caught by Rongjing. With a surprised expression on his calm and gentle face, he whispered, "Sir, why are you dizzy?" Rongjing looked so innocent that people would never doubt his hands. Rongjing opened the man's eyelids professionally, listened to the heartbeat, observed his face, and comforted the crying female partner, "Don't cry, it's just hypoglycemia, temporary fainting, and it will be fine later." Hypoglycemia. It may cause symptoms of mental depression, slowness, and blurred vision, so when you wake up, you may be talking nonsense. Please comfort him at that time. Rongjing has exaggerated and modified the symptoms, it is best can pick out his own pot. He calmly fabricated it, and when the female was the 6 gods and no masters, she felt something was wrong. In Rongjing's soothing tone, she nodded blankly, feeling the calmness and reliability of the other party. Only then did I notice that this enthusiastic man was still a handsome guy, and the female's face was a little red, and she was a little bit cautious about the strange alha. Then, "It's troublesome." Rongjing smiled and said that it was okay. He picked up the man and went outside with his female companion to ask for the rescue area. After taking them out, Rongjing glanced at the direction of the toilet and completely closed the access door. Before long, he stepped onto the security team that had just handled the conflict and handed the man to them. In the woman's gratitude, achievement, and retreat, Rongjing didn't leave immediately either. Watson's on the first floor bought the scent-blocking spray he needed. Watson still knew him, and the sisters who accompanied the family had occasionally strolled around. When the clerk recommended the flavor, the magician thought of bumping into it, vaguely smelling a faint breath other than pheromone, and blurted out blue wind chimes. He opened the access door again, it was quiet inside, and the doors of the 6 restrooms were still closed. I don't know if the Oga is gone, but just in case he still covered his nose and sprayed a barrier spray into the air. After confirming that the breath was removed, he closed the access door again, hesitated in place for a while, took out the cleaning sign hidden on the side, and put it at the door before leaving. Rongjing rushed to the home court of the event. He also wanted to go to the press conference and meet Gu Xi who was alive. Although Rongjing didn't have much obsession with memory, since he happened to meet him, he still had a glimmer of hope, maybe he could think of anything and return to the original world. 10 minutes ago, Gu Xi was completely desperate when he heard Anno's door closing. He thought that the other party had locked the door and entered, but at this moment, the vertigo attacked again, and he was dizzy again. When he regained consciousness, he found that there was no movement around him, but it was quiet. He didn't think he had hit the door, attacked, or molested him. He took out his mobile phone, trembling with a vacant hand, and sent an ink spot to his assistant. There were advertisements on the 4D TV beside his feet, and the brilliant light shone on Gu Xi's sweaty face, making him look almost coquettish and magnificent. It wasn't until the inhibitor's effect was completely effective, that he was sure that he had the strength to fight back, and then took a deep breath and opened the compartment door. But the whole Anno was empty, and there was an accident in his eyes. He even opened every cubicle to make sure no one was hiding in it. Gu Xi walked out with a frown, and found that the other toilet main doors outside were also closed, and there was a faint smell of barrier spray in the air, which was not very smelling, but he could still perceive that it was a low-profile version of the blue wind chime. He couldn't describe how he felt now, and he was a little relieved and a little confused. In this relatively confined space, he is really the only one. I can't describe my feelings, as if the wind is leaking everywhere in my heart, but today's wind gently envelopes him with a hint of warm water vapor. Gu Xi frowned more tightly. How could it be possible? His expression went from tight and vigilant, to doubt, to faintly unbelievable. He never believed that there was unprovoked kindness in this world, and all kindness was clearly priced. Either for fame, or for profit, or for desire. In the eyes of many alhas, he is the pinnacle trophy of fame and fortune. At this time, there was an opening sound from the doorway, accompanied by a muttering, "Who put the clean sign outside, so how can other people go to the toilet?" The little assistant Mo Diane looked inside carefully. Seeing Gu Xi's figure, he let out a sigh of relief. After not taking a few steps, he realized that Gu Xi hadn't noticed him at all. Instead, he was standing there like a statue, frowning, as if thinking about a problem of the century. "Ink in 3 steps and come over in 2 steps. You just sent me a location and scared me to death. I wanted to buy you some supper. I saw it coming right away. Are you, okay?" The ink dots looked up and down Gu Xi, for fear that he would not pay attention and his baby would be bullied. He really knew how much pressure Gu Xi faced every day. But this time, why, it seems to be more energetic than when I was in the car before? Gu Xi only noticed the assistant's arrival. He looked over in a daze, "If Alha smells my pheromone," but there is no response. "What, your pheromone, is your estrus period reached?" God, 557 days have passed, and Gu Xi's estrus period has finally arrived. "If you don't come, I will take you to the endocrinology department. Most Oga's estrus period is fixed. If the cycle is not fixed, it is the same as the small days of women. If you don't pay attention to it, big things will happen." Mo Diane thought of the key again, and became nervous. You are okay just now, did you bump into anyone? Has anyone hurt you? So if you feel uncomfortable, you should let me accompany you. They can't feel the beta, but he has seen how crazy the Alha affected by Gu Xi's pheromone can be. If the pheromone in this world can also be classified, there may be 2 types, Gu Xi and other than Gu Xi. "I'm okay, I'm safe." Gu Xi patted the assistant's head, then glanced at the sign that was being cleaned outside. "You haven't answered what I said just now. What you said is not true. It's not that I can't respond if you don't want to respond. This is instinct. And you also know that your pheromone, even O, can affect. Assuming that it does, this Alha or it was disguised by Bo, or, don't raise it." Mo Diane spread his hands out of nothing, he was telling the truth. Their Gu Xi is a walking hormone, a deadly weapon in the world, whichever it can resist is abnormal. Gu Xi's confused eyes paused. "I feel a little bit too narcissistic, and a little bit," they suddenly started. "The author has something to say that dying didn't have 3 days and 3 nights, and probably no one believed me anymore. Thanks to the little angel Mingjun who threw landmines, 10, Chen Qi, Er2, Frost Grass, Sun Zhouyi, Deep Hidden Gong and Fame, 1, thanks to the little angel who irrigated the nutrient solution, Xenia wished 12 bottles of CC, 10 bottles of favorite main article, 5 bottles of Chinjiu Tang Chikiu, Smile 007, Yunying, 1 bottle of Liu, Zhai Bei Journey, Kinky, Born as a Man. Thank you very much for your support, I will continue to work hard." At that time, I was dizzy and powerless, only concerned about whether the chance Alha caught up. All Tanmi novels, www.mtlnovel.com. The crisis is close at hand, and there is no way to think about it. Thinking back now, after the other party lifted him up, he didn't make any other actions. Even when he came to ask himself, the words were politely alienated, without the slightest taste of frivolity. This also shows that the person was not influenced by himself. "Gu Xi, what are you thinking about? Whoever stipulates that it is Alha will definitely be affected by you, so self-righteous. Ink. You ask this, is it true that Alha turns a blind eye to your pheromone? What rare species is this?" Gu Xi's face sullen slightly, and she doesn't know which word of this sentence has stepped on his point, and the corner of her mouth is squeezed. "Let's go." Gu Xi put on sunglasses to cover her deep eyes, and once again returned to the coolness and calmness of everyone's impression. He walked away with long legs and seemed to walk with wind. As if all the weakness and pain just now disappeared, he was always confident to the outside world to perfection. It just didn't go far, and suddenly turned around and saw the crystal bracelet on the ground at the door of Anna, which was today's aide. Suddenly remembered that when he bumped into that Alha just now, he tore it off by mistake. When the man left, he forgot the bracelet, but he didn't forget to close the door for him. Gu Xi's gaze condensed, and an indescribable taste lingered in her heart. In any case, today is his negligence, sudden situation. If there is no such Alha, what incalculable things will happen, no one can predict. And because today's itinerary has been sent out early, there are still entertainment and paparazzi inside and out. If anyone wants to take advantage of the weakest moments, it may be a disaster-level matter. After sinking for 3 years, he finally went ashore to catch his breath. If bad news is produced, all the previous efforts will be crushed, and he himself will be forfeited. Gu Xi still had the sequelae of inhibitors in his body, and his hands were slightly cramping, fearing to make him pale after a while. He doesn't like to owe favors, even if the other party is just a stranger. Favor is the most difficult thing in the world to return. What's the matter? Is it uncomfortable again? Otherwise, let's take time off and rest. Mo Diane looked at Gu Xi's expression so badly that he was about to take him out of here. Seeing Gu Xi staring at something falling on the ground, she helped pick it up without seeing what it was. But he was stopped by Gu Xi. I'm fine, who will pay off so many debts? Looking at Gu Xi's mouth with a smile, there is not a trace of weakness, only firm clarity on his thin face. Although it is an Oga, it is pure and independent like an A. So many people say that they Gu Xi are both A and slapped, that's from it came out of the bones. As Gu Xi said, he picked up the crystal bracelet and gently and carefully removed the ashes on it. Don't get dirty things if they are clean. When they came to the underground garage, the driver just came back in a hurry, with the smell of smoke, because every night he had to work overtime, he had to smoke a cigarette to refresh his mind. Gu Xi didn't like the smell of smoke, and smelling it would remind him of some very bad memories. He went into the back seat without saying a word, only putting down the car window. Because I know that the driver's family has a child who is just a few months old and a breastfeeding wife, I don't want to embarrass a person who wants to make a living in such a place. As the car started, Gu Xi took out the bracelet again and noticed that the plastic piece on it was a Q version of her portrait. Seeing that Gu Xi was always working on an unfamiliar bracelet, after the ink dot instructed the driver, he leaned his head over. Ah, isn't that the Q picture drawn for you by the well-known big-touched eagle in the circle? Usage rate in the fan circle very high, is it still made into a cheer now? Gu Xi retracted the bracelet and smiled, do you still know this? Mo Diane scratched his head embarrassedly, and said with a smile, isn't this going to your fan circle to go shopping and see what's going on? Gu Xi didn't say anything, turned on the top light of the back seat, clasped her hand around her hand, and took a random photo of her wrist and uploaded it. Eat Gu Xi in the dim, warm yellow light shone on the white jade-like slender wrists, and the black bracelets were decorated with cute cartoon avatars. When Gu Xi posted this photo, he immediately turned a group of fans, and the messages broke hundreds of them in an instant. This is today's aid. I printed it. When did the league official get it out of the venue? I actually missed it. As long as I think that we are cheering and shouting outside, but the alliance officer sneaks out to get the aid, I will go crazy, thinking about the scene. I am so cute. Baby is definitely the most favorite fan, the baby is like an angel, so warm. Be confident, remove the image, this is an angel. Isn't it the hand of a no-good baby? Does this belong to the world? Mom asked me why I was kneeling and licking the screen. ASL Gu Xi's Weibo account has been controlled by the company for 3 years, and he has just returned to his own hands recently. After that, he will post regularly. For him, it was not a business, but a few places where he could relax after being released from imprisonment. Gu Xi untied her hand loop and stuffed it into her pants pocket, and closed her eyes wearily. Call me when you get there. In a scene filmed before, the live radio was not good. He had to go over and dub himself again. He didn't know when it was dubbed. He could only sleep for a while in the car. The continuous fatigue and the arrival of estrus made him quickly fall into light sleep. The driver and assistant in the car are both beta, and it is not known that he almost caused a riot in the mall just now. Mo looked at Gu Xi's face painfully, turned off the ceiling light, and covered him with a thin blanket. The driver moved the rear-view mirror and looked at Gu Xi, who was sleeping in the mirror, and a struggle flashed under his eyes. Rong Jing didn't care about the episode just now, he just met it smoothly, and didn't cost much. He hurried to the door of the new jewelry launch conference and saw people coming out one after another. The two girls who had been eager to show him the way were very happy to see him, saying that he was late and had been over for a long time. At this time, Gu Xi got in the nanny car and left. Rong Jing thought, it's no wonder that there are a lot fewer people in the mall just now. This is probably the top traffic in the legend. Rong Jing nodded, and he saw the standing human-shaped plaque, which was made according to the height of the person who took care of Xi. He didn't see a real person, and it was the same when looking at a humanoid stand. What he was looking for was the fleeting sense of familiarity in his mind, the vague truth that was illusory, and the feeling that he couldn't catch it every time he passed by was not good. Gu Xi on the humanoid stand is in a white suit with delicate and deep eyebrows. There is a kind of coldness that does not cannibalize the fireworks. There is a temperament that makes mortals feel ashamed. But his eyes are full of affectionate seductiveness and purity. Suddenly, Rong Jing thought of a word that was pure and lustful. You can see the amazing charm just by standing the card, but it is even harder to imagine if it is a real person. But there is no fluctuation in Rong Jing's eyes, only a faint appreciation. He watched for a while from an onlooker perspective, from full of hope to gradually dimming. Similar to looking at the photos in the phone, it seems that 2D and 3D are not very different. He is not familiar with this face. He is only familiar with the name Gu Xi and the name of the movie he starred in. In the new world, when the surrounding environment and people are unfamiliar, even a person with a strong mentality will feel kind to the things that make him familiar. As a souvenir, Rong Jing took a selfie with himself and the humanoid stand. Looking at the photo, I have no expression on his face, and the human-shaped card behind him also looks indifferent, and the picture feels cold and fun. Rong Jing was also in the mixed circle in his previous life, and he also had his own basic aesthetic for a photo. Rong Jing, who rarely takes selfies, is a bit unaccustomed to comparing it with AV, and finally feels that the picture is a little more coordinated. Rong Jing went to the IT machine to check it. Xia Ling said and believed that several cards have been thawed, and some of them were given by stepfather and elder brother Xia Ling. As for the mother of the original owner, she can't even decide on her own life, so how could she have spare money? To the son. Only one of the peony cards was earned by the original owner by his own part-time work, and most of the expenses are usually taken here. The original owner did not deliberately pretend to be poor, nor did he insist on arguing with Xiejie. He knew that whether he wanted to admit it or not, he was the young master of Xie's family. It's just that the memory of poverty when I was young is too deep, and I am used to saving. Rong Jing took some of the cash and paid Huabi first, without debts. Just like most men, he is not very interested in shopping. He entered a few trendy brand stores according to his memory, and he matched 2 sets of casual clothes and a set of casual suits, one for normal times and the other for formal occasions. Fashion brands do not pay attention to the texture of the lines like luxury goods, but they are more fashionable in design, and the price is relatively close to the people. It is his current cost-effective choice. The facade is a person's sign and a bridge for others to know oneself. After buying, I went to Watson's again and came to the counter of the barrier spray. The waiter saw the handsome guy coming again and enthusiastically introduced him to various scents. When he smelled the fifth one, Rongjing felt like I almost lose my sense of smell. He bought all the flavors he tried just now, and his previous experience in the toilet was very impressive. He had lingering fears, so let's keep a bit of it. Rongjing was carrying shopping bags, and when he went out, he saw some commotion in the distance. It seemed that there was a disturbance. He had no intention of watching, so he went straight out of the mall, thinking about where to stay tonight. After graduation, the original owner was recalled by his mother to Xie's house, and there was no place to live outside. Later, one after another happened, and the card was frozen again and there was no way to rent a house. He had searched for a nearby budget hotel. At this time, the battery level of the mobile phone was still 2%. He planned to go to the hotel to charge as soon as possible. He stopped a taxi, but he did not expect to be taken in by a man in red. The man was so drunk that he saw Rongjing still standing still, saying, "I just felt familiar from the back, you really are. What are you doing while standing there, come up." The man in red said, retching a few times again like a nausea. Rongjing's eyes twitched slightly, "Let this car let you." It was the Oga who was arguing with Qi Ying in the cat cafe. At first glance, he was drunk, full of alcohol, and a trace of pheromone leaked on his body. There is only one trace, and it should be the time limit for the blocking spray effect. But the pheromone of the same Oga leaked, why now he just feels tempting, but not impulsive. This kind of pheromone is 10 times stronger, and it is not as bad as the previous one. Rongjing didn't know, the first news was the peak. Rongjing and this red Oga have only one fate, they don't know each other at all. Seeing this Oga giggling at herself, she should be really drunk. In fact, Rongjing is not sure whether it is her or him, because although this person is slim and wearing women's clothing, his voice is deliberately low. I have seen it in circles in his previous life. Rongjing has developed a pair of insights. However, in order to respect other people's hobbies, Rongjing still intends to call him she for the time being. Next moment, she kicked Rongkyung's knee indiscriminately with her stiletto feet. Rongjing. It's not that he has no temper, take a deep breath, don't talk about cultivation with a drunk. Thinking of what the other party said in Mecca, although he doesn't need others to fight for his own injustice, he can't deny the other party's kindness. Ignoring her screams, he took the license plate number and took out a sum of cash to the driver so that the driver must send the person to the destination. There is an unwritten rule in this world that all taxi drivers and Didi drivers must be beta. This is for the safety of other genders. Seeing that the driver hadn't recovered, he always stared at the drunk Oga in the back row. Rongjing's eyes fell cold, as if he could see through the human soul, and his voice sank, "If something happens, the license plate number is the evidence." Pointing to the phone photo. Rongjing didn't say anything threatening, but the driver's scalp went numb and he nodded in a daze. Rongjing turned to leave. Thinking of something, he took out a bottle of the blocking spray he had bought just now, and didn't see the taste, and put it directly into her hand. But before he took a few steps, the red ogre rushed out and spat at him. Rongjing looked at the filth on the ground with a dazed expression, because only a little bit was stained on his clothes when he dodged, and then when the instigator looked eager to cry, his hands were still pulling at him, as if he had abandoned her. "Don't go, ooh, why no one likes me?" Seeing that he was pulling and pulling with an Oga to attract onlookers, Rongjing didn't want to make headlines. He quickly cut the mess and carried the person back to the taxi like a sax, and said, "Go to the nearest hotel." The driver witnessed the whole journey, nodded blankly, and flew away. Once Rongjing's gentle expression was let go, there was an extra sharpness that made people dare not make a mistake. Fortunately, in the car, this Oga probably didn't make a fuss because of getting what he wanted, so he fell asleep slowly. If it makes trouble again, he will get out of the car. Again, boys should protect themselves when they are outside. He can help people, but there are limits. Out of the box, then read it, the next one. In this world, there are no protective measures for Alha, and even the law does not consider harassment a guilty. To some extent, A is also a vulnerable group. When he arrived at the destination, Rongjing glanced at the magnificent hotel. The driver admitted that he was uneasy and kind, and just wanted to take the opportunity to give this Alha a lesson, and nosy. This one is nothing but expensive. But facing Rongjing's plain eyes, he could only smile and say, this is really the nearest. Rongjing didn't want to care about these details, and asked the crooked Oga next to him if he had brought his ID or cell phone. The other party was already asleep and snoring. The receptionist opened the car door, and Rongjing said directly, please ask an Oga attendant to take her to the room first, and find another to take me to go through the housing procedures. However, due to the rarity and importance of Oga, as an escort, Rongjing must take her up together as long as there is no other entourage around this Oga. Oga accident, their hotel cannot afford to be responsible. This is also the reason why Rongjing didn't dare to throw people on the road casually, because he was the last witness. After handing Oga to the waiter, Rongjing followed all the way to the elevator. Just as the elevator door was about to close, he slapped the door with his big hands. Wait a minute, wait a minute. Two strong rushed in. They didn't notice the restrained temperament of Rongjing. They only glanced at the Oga carried by the waiter, because she had been sprayed and blocked again in the car. The spray, there was no pheromone smell at this moment, only a faint sour smell of vomit. The two frowned and looked away, and began to chat without anyone else. One of them said, what happened to you? You were driven out of the mall because of the crowds and making trouble. You are not ashamed. Fortunately, there are brothers to fish you. If someone knows the prince of the Shanghai stock market, he will almost be listed as a dishonest list by the mall. Gee! You laugh. I smelled the best at the time. Before I could smell it, I was stunned. Alha touched the back of his neck violently, look at me here. Are you young? I haven't suffered such a big loss since I was a child. I'm so dare. Rongjing raised his eyebrows when he heard this, and looked at the two people who were talking. Oh, the world is so small. That irritable Alha's neck was indeed bluish. Rongjing probably knew his strength. He had been in the Shaolin Temple when he was a child, and he usually wouldn't take it easily. This time, he was controlled. At most, it would hurt his soft tissues. It would not be a major problem, and it would only hurt for a few nights. Well, it hurts. Where is my sister-in-law? Bah, don't mention that woman to me, divide it. Do you still keep it for the new year? She actually said, the irritable man is so angry that he breathes hard, and he learns his ex-girlfriend to talk sweetly. That's a good guy. He said that you were just low blood sugar and would talk nonsense when you woke up, and he was right. Where did I get low blood sugar? Ah. You really don't. I only have high blood pressure right now. She is fascinated by that little white face. Bah, superficial. It seems that you are not Yang Kong, and the companion also thinks it is very dramatic, and endures a smile. Later I, of course, tried his best to find that person to settle the account. Maybe he was a little excited, and almost was alarmed by the woman as a neurotic. So this is the reason why I came here and you were blocked by a few security guards? However, the pheromone of the best is really so powerful. The companions are a little unimaginable, they have seen many top no matter how best the best can be. Where to go? Depressed, I can't describe it. I've never smelled anything like that before, and I'm different from others, otherwise I can't control it. But I also smelled a bit of it, and it's too late to make a fine product. Compared to the best product, obviously the irritable man is more concerned about knocking him out and slandering his man. It's better not to let Lao Tzu stumble, you dig the ground and find it for Lao Tzu. At this time, right behind, was Rongjing quietly watching them talking. After that, the two of them arrived on the floor, and the irritable man cursed, while holding his neck in a cry, screaming in pain, and asked his companion to find the best Chinese massage therapist, and call him an ambulance if he doesn't work. The grumpy man vaguely heard a chuckle behind him, and when he turned his head, the elevator door just closed. The irritable man snorted, and shouted angrily at the unmanned passage, "Ah, he will recognize him when he is turned into grey. Don't hide if you have the ability." "Okay, I heard it. The author has something to say, read it, and the next one. Wrong, don't want to cause trouble, but not afraid of trouble. Jing, thank you for the two little angels who cast minds, Ming Jun, Gu Cha, actor Duo Kaiu, and Smile 0071, thanks to the little angel Lookie who irrigated the nutrient solution for 30 bottles, a good dream, 20 bottles of glutinous rice without filling, Smile 00710 bottles, Born to be Human, 3 bottles of peppermint essence, 33156071 bottles. Thank you very much for your support, I will continue to work hard. After Rongjing helped send people to the room, he returned to the first floor to check in. Although he could still go to a budget hotel, he was too lazy to toss, and he still had a sour taste. Thanks to the high quality of the waiters here, he would have driven him out for reasons such as untidy clothes. I think so, but when I saw a large number of numbers crossed out on the card, my heart still pulled a little. This hotel grabbed the money? When the front desk got the certificate and registered on the computer, he suddenly glanced at Rongjing, his expression changed from a business to a more respectful smile, and then he bowed and handed back the certificate with both hands. Rongjing took it without thinking, and he was often on standby when there was no need. Shielding the surroundings will allow him to save energy consumption. He saw the number on the card and went straight to the elevator, and declined the guidance of the lobby manager. I entered the room and did not rest immediately. Even if I was tired, I almost instinctively chose the clothes to wear tomorrow, hung them up, ironed them with an ironing machine, and reironed some small wrinkles. This is a living habit he has cultivated in his previous life in order to better welcome the next day. He didn't take a good look in the mirror for the 3 days when he walked into the bathroom. The person in the mirror is tall, with pale skin, with a pearly luster under soft light, well-proportioned bones, deep brow bones, and a bit of mixed blood. In my memory, the biological father of this body is indeed a quarter. He is of European descent, and his temperament reveals an innate sense of alienation. Objectively speaking, he is not as good-looking as in the original world, about 80%. But he has no regrets. After all, a person's appearance is not the only plus point. Moreover, even if he was in a daze, he also had a fierce taste. Even if he didn't do anything, he would make people retreat. Now at least he won't frighten the child, so he can be distracted as much as he wants. After taking off his shirt, there was a scar about 3 centimeters long under the thin pectoral muscles. It was deeply pricked and 3 stitches were sewn. It was dropped by the original owner to protect his mother when he was a child. The fierce quarrels, blood splattering, and broken camera lenses formed a fragmented picture. Rongjing felt the slight unevenness on it, and the sting like a needle passed to his brain. The original owner has left, but the muscle has left a memory. After bathing, he wiped his hair and walked out naked. When he was alone, Rongjing was quite casual and unruly. He simply put on a pair of slacks and enjoyed surfing on the bed. When the battery is charged, the phone will automatically turn on, and I first posted on my Weibo. There are not many fans, only more than 10,000. Among the students of the School of Film and Television, this number is really inconspicuous. This was applied when the original host was in university. The original host was studying in the performance department that Qi Ying extremely envied. The original host chose a less demanding dance for talent performance, and performed a more difficult folk dance. The physical flexibility reached the standard. His appearance was above average, and few alha would choose to dance. This ingenuity made the judges give him the green light. He had a dispute with the Xie family because of the college entrance examination volunteers, and resolutely moved out of the Xie family for his own ideals. He loves acting, and he performed well at the beginning, but when he reported on a performance, he realized that he could not face the camera and the audience. For a time, the whole class became a joke for that performance. After that, he never took the stage again, and of course no one was given another chance, so he could only practice in private. Also because of the accident, the original owner was dubbed an accident with the nickname Wrong. As long as there is a place for the original owner, the performance will inevitably be overturned. Over time, his reputation is far-reaching, and he is one of the most famous students in the academy except for the star students. His performance opportunities are getting less and less. Even when he graduates, his classmates have their own prospects, some will go to the audition, some will be turned again, and most of them are busy in the crew. No matter how many shots there is always a play appointment. Only because of the fear of the camera, the original owner never got a formal opportunity. The original owner did not give up hope. For 4 years, he has trained himself in front of the camera. No matter how hard he is behind the scenes, once in front of the camera, he will still give up all his efforts. Otherwise, he would not listen to his mother's words, and temporarily return to Xie's house after graduation. At that time, he had been insisting on his dream for too long, and he no longer knew the meaning of persistence. Later, it was discovered that her boyfriend Qi Ying was half-hearted, and the original owner was very anxious and began to think of a way out for the future again. This Weibo was also opened during the freshman year, following the trend. At that time, the original owner was still on fire for a while because of a university military training photo. More than 10,000 fans grew up at that time, and for the next few years they stayed still. Most of the people in the original microblog are daily life, occasionally posting selfies, or about Qi Ying's daily life, sharing what they think is sweet, but Qi Ying's face is not shown. Most fans only know that he has a stable boyfriend. However, it has not been updated for more than half a year. Since discovering that Qi Ying has a few ambiguous objects besides himself, the original owner has stopped updating. Rong Jing thought, at least to put an end to the unilateral pursuit of the original owner. He opened the window and took a picture of the night scene against the starry sky and moonlit night, thinking about how to write the breakup copy. Literary and artistic people can't write, and they had a team in their previous life. His liberal arts is not very good, so he can only honestly add a paragraph to wish the future good, and each one will be well. Although there are few fans left, seeing him come back to blog more, it immediately aroused their enthusiasm. After half a year, I finally waited, and I felt like weeping with joy. Oh see, the return of missing persons. Have you cheated on the corpse? This month seems to be the month of the breakup. How many are they, right? I felt that your little boyfriend didn't love you very much before, and most of the photos you took were from the back, so it was strange to look at, so that's okay. Happy breaking up. The original owner also paid attention to Xie Ling's personal account. In fact, it can be seen from this that the original owner is not entirely indifferent to thanking his family, at least secretly following it. I just saw that Xie Ling reposted a Weibo with a love. Weibo was a photo of a wristband sent by a person named Chichichi Gu Xi. This wristband made Rongjing very familiar. Rongjing blinked, he didn't think you were such a big brother. Maybe, or Gu Xi's fan. But in an instant, the reposted Weibo was deleted, and I don't know if it was sent by mistake or for other reasons. Rongjing directly looked at the hot search list and saw this top 10 searched Gu Xieying aid. The following comments were more than 100,000. There were fans and passers-by to join in the fun. Rongjin also saw the black bracelet on that slender wrist. I seem to have one too? Rongjing then looked at his wrist with hindsight. When did my one run? After searching for a while, Rongjing could only give up. Rongjing easily clicked the attention, and it was divided into the column of movie stars. It was also at this time that Gu Xi's attention was zero. Wow, no one pays attention and has personality. After being struggling, Rong Jing found that he couldn't sleep well, so he simply found 365 Days of Lotus starring Gu Xi on the video platform, paid for the online movie, and watched it. The first scene is a rain curtain, a pair of feet full of silt running fast, splashing water like diamonds, under the dark blue tone. It is a touch of depression and compactness. A long shot with subtitles appeared, and Rongjing looked in unconsciously. I was fascinated by it. At this time, a WeChat message came, and Rongjing looked at the screen with a wrong look. In the picture, Gu Xi stepped on the snow, forming a string of long footprints on the ground. A hemp rope was hung on his thin shoulders. The hemp rope was connected to a basket covered with quilts. The wheels were pressed under the basket, and the inside was packed. It was his little sister, pushing the cart in front of him, pulling the basket behind, staggering to the destination, rubbing his hands with the heat, and started selling hot water to the people passing by on the side of the road. The hands covered with frostbite were cracked in some places, and some had not healed. They were red and purple and looked painful, but he didn't feel any. He huffed, looking hopefully at the people passing by, hoping that someone could stop and patronize this small hot water booth, but before he even waited for the guests, there were a few rascals in the screen, and Rongjing's heart was full. Mention it. The person sent by WeChat is Qi Ying. I have made an appointment for you. Don't be late at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Rongjing was brought into the story by Gu Xi's acting skills, and he crossed it out without looking carefully, and continued to watch the movie intently. Qi Ying met with the producer of the new TV series tonight, and also met the legendary investor Father Xieling, who is known as the cold-faced Hades. Although Xieling just happened to have dinner at that hotel and partner, their TV series are just the one from Xie's family. An insignificant investment project, but this is an opportunity for Qi Ying to climb up. Only a glass of wine was served at the dinner, and Qi Ying did not find a good narration. Unexpectedly, he was lucky, and later saw Xieling in the aisle with the secretary next to him. Xieling focused on the phone, raised his hand to let the translation secretary beside him remove the German document, and said to the other end of the phone, "You are always from our Xie family. He should be talking to a family member who is in conflict." Such a cold man, his eyes softened when he was talking. It's just that the person on the other end of the phone didn't seem to pay much. He hung up without saying a few words. Xieling found him hiding in the corner. Qi Ying was trying to make a close, weak and beautiful Olga like him, even if it appeared a bit abrupt, he could not refuse, but he did not expect that after he reported his home, the other party only glanced at him without any disturbance, as if looking at him. Some obstructive stone on the side of the road kicked it away. Choosing you as the lead actor is a matter of the film and television department and the planning department, and there are people behind you who are pushing it, and it has nothing to do with my cultivation. Instead of casting a net in the sea, it is better to study acting. Xieling's eyes looked like a joke. Disaccompanied. Qi Ying didn't understand at first, until the other person disappeared. He didn't understand the plain irony and the full of disdain for him, as if to say, "What gives you the confidence to come to me?" Qi Ying's face blushed. He had never seen a who didn't show his face so much. But no matter how upset he was, he knew he couldn't offend Xieling. When it comes to capital, who can have more capital than Xieling? The first heir to the wealthy Xie family, he made a name for himself during college and earned the title of Wolf of Wall Street. The name of the person, the shadow of the tree, such a noble person, maybe only those who really feel relieved are the weak underbelly. Seeing that it was too late, Xieling took the people around him directly to a nearby hotel under his own name to rest and discuss the progress of the project by the way. After the discussion was almost midnight, the assistant whispered a few words in his ear, and Xieling frowned. "You said Xiaojing opened the room a few hours ago and brought a drunk Oga? What is he doing? What does he want to do?" Xiaoling usually doesn't talk much, and suddenly a bunch of them burst out. Could it be that that incident has hit him to this extent? Xiaoling found that she had overestimated Rongjing's psychological endurance. Originally, an honest child would abduct a drunk Oga, don't you know it's illegal? And I opened a room in my own hotel stupidly, for fear that I wouldn't be able to find it. One inattentive, there is a criminal in the family? Xiaoling realized the seriousness of this matter and immediately called the manager. After understanding what happened, he knew that Rongjing had opened 2 rooms, and Xiaoling had no urge to catching traitors. Knowing the house number, he led a mighty person all the way to the 17th floor. In the silent hallway, Xiaoling came to the door of Rongjing's room. After thinking about it, I lie down by the door and listen to the movement. The soundproofing is too good to hear. The assistants behind him silently lowered their heads, pretending not to see the perverted behavior of their vice president. Xiaoling looked at his watch again, it was already 12 o'clock. Let him sleep, I'll talk in the morning. Rongjing, who was in the room at this time, slowly fell asleep watching the movie, and the light of the picture changed constantly on his face, completely unaware of a group of people standing outside the door. Xiaoling walked a few steps and muttered to herself in a low voice, what did he pay for, and he still lives in a regular guest room. I won't forget that I bought it. Haha, how is this possible? This acquisition case was also selected as a gold case 3 years ago, which went viral in the industry and was regarded as a typical case. Xiaoling. So, paying for the room means to draw a clear line from me? What's wrong with this kid, wanting to rebel? Sleepless night, many people do not sleep well. Rongjing slept very well. After sleeping in the shelter, this was his best night. Chen Guang came out through the heavy curtains and turned off the phone alarm clock in his ears. Rongjing has a characteristic, that is, when his brain is most empty when he just wakes up, it takes a few minutes to wake up. He got out of bed slowly, holding a chicken coop, slowly brushing his teeth, washing his face and shaving. Putting on the clothes I ironed yesterday, I slowly wake up, my thinking is working normally, and I think of today's itinerary. He needs to go back to school today. The original owner chose this year's film school for the graduate exam. Even if he had no way of continuing to perform, the original owner still thought about finding another way. Rongjing still recognized the original owner's attitude of not giving up. The process of the postgraduate entrance examination is different every year. This year is the same as last year. It is only after the individual subject line and the total score line can enter the retest. Today is the day for results. Out of the bathroom door, I was about to open the curtains, and suddenly felt a figure appeared by the window, because there were only a few rays of light entering the room, and I could only see a cloud of darkness over there, and I couldn't see my face. Rongjing took a deep breath and asked sharply who. Rongjing reacted swiftly to attack, and his aura suddenly became dangerous. What's going on in this hotel? Can thieves come in casually? Al-Ha, who was lying dozingly, suddenly felt a strong breath rushing towards him, enduring the restlessness of the counterattack, slowly opened his eyes, and coldly rebuked, "This is your attitude towards your eldest brother." Oh, it turned out to be the eldest brother. Okay? No, you come here to watch me get up? What's wrong with you? After Gu Xi got out of the car, she looked around for a while, making sure that no one was following before she walked into the hotel. He put on a hat, mask, and glasses, and came to the address stated on the phone fully armed. After the dubbing ended last night, it was already 4 o'clock in the morning. Only then did he find out that his friend Guan Hongyi caught her boyfriend cheating, and had a lot of trouble in the bar, and then disappeared, no one knows where he went. Gu Xi didn't sleep at all, looking for people everywhere, and made the phone all night, only to get through just now, but Guan Hongyi's voice on the other end of the phone seemed to be dead soon. Gu Xi went to the room number that Guan Hongyi said, knocked on the door for a long time, and almost asked the waiter to open the door directly. The people inside finally came over to open the door drunkenly. The exquisite makeup on Guan Hongai's face has been spent, and the wig was thrown on the ground, and the whole state of him was decadent. When Gu Xi saw that he was okay, he relaxed the tension all night. There have been several headless corpses in the suburbs recently. The victims are all young Oga, and their deaths are miserable. Some people suspect that the driver of the night car did it. The case is still under investigation. Gu Xi glanced at the person in the quilt again, took off her attire, went to the bathroom to wet the towel, and came out to wipe his face. Guan Hongai pointed to the bag on the ground. Makeup remover and cotton pad are in it. Gu Xi took it and said, "You drank like this yesterday, so you can come to the hotel." Guan Hongai propped his chin and laughed, "Someone sent me here, a super handsome and super an alha." Gu Xi didn't feel good about it and said, "Go on to sleep, you can have more dreams. You actually satirize my daydreaming, no big or small, hey. Why don't you believe me? I haven't seen me like this since I was born. It exudes a breath of abstinence. It's the kind of temptation all over, but no one. The indifferent taste that you can't eat, it has a sensation. The most important thing is that it's really moral, and it's a place where you shouldn't stop. This kind of breed is hard to see for 100 years. At that time, it's really well behaved. Generally, in this situation, which it can bear it. Alas, I fainted later, otherwise it might be able to develop." Gu Zigong wanted to say that there is no such kind of alha in this world, but suddenly thought of something, and stopped talking. Guan Hongai took off her makeup, slowly revealing her original delicate face, watching Gu Xi tidy up the mess of clothes and bags on the floor, with a serious expression. "Your contract to eat people without spitting out bones, is it coming to an end? Expires at the end of the month. Be careful, I'm afraid they will counterattack. You are their most precious cash cow." Gu Xi didn't reply. Guan Hongai knew Gu Xi's temperament and wanted to resist everything by herself. When Gu Xi was a child, in order to avoid debts, he used to pick up food near the trash can for a living. Sometimes he dumped all the trash to another one, then went into the empty space and curled up to sleep for one night. I don't know if it was too many times. Found by Guan Hongai, who lives nearby, Guan Hongai looked at Gu Xi who was deliberately smeared with mud, and looked at him stubbornly, and asked him, "Little devil, do you want to come to me?" Gu Xi stared at him fiercely, like a desperate little beast. Guan Hongai said again, "I can only give you something to eat and a place to sleep. You can go whenever you want." Gu Xi silently refused without hesitation, and never followed him. He didn't take this extremely stubborn child to the hospital until he was hungry and fainted once. This little leopard, who can only bite, is never easy to get close to. Guan Hongai still remembers that it took him many years to gradually let Gu Xi accept himself. Gu Xi half dragged Guan Hongai out, and when he waited for the elevator, he felt that Alha was passing by behind him. Alha's aura was always so arrogant and wanton all the time. Gu Xi's whole body was tight again, which quickly became his reflex condition. Just at this time the elevator came, and Gu Xi took Guan Hongai and walked in quickly. At this time, a clear voice came not far away, as if speaking to the person beside him. "I have not forgotten, I have already bought the clothes for the dinner party." Gu Xi's eyes narrowed slightly, this voice. In the previous impact, he didn't see the person's appearance clearly, but he had a vague impression of the sound. Gu Xi immediately opened the elevator door, but he was still holding Guan Hongai, restricting his movement. Only one step was taken, and the slender and tall silhouette at the corner was vaguely seen, and it quickly disappeared again. Guan Hongai rarely sees that there is no business smirk on his face, only Gu Xi who is a little worried. "What's wrong with you?" Gu Xi was startled and shook her head. "It's nothing, I read it wrong." The author has something to say thanks to the 12 little angels Ming Jun who cast landmines, Sun Zwoi, Mian Mian Dabai, Gu Cha, Nana, Ju, Wuyuqianmo, Kinju, ER1, thank you for the little angel who irrigates the nutrient solution, 30 bottles without paper and white, 6 bottles of glutinous rice without filling, 5 bottles of Unying, 1 bottle of Being Born as a Human, clear ink, and light shadow, thank you very much for your support, I will continue to work hard. Rongjing didn't know how long Xieling had been watching there. It was a bit creepy when he thought of being looked at like this when he was asleep. What is Xieling's hobby? Rongjing thinks they need to talk about it. You follow me? Hat. Xieling sneered. A faint mockery, as if to say you think I need? It's very Xieling to mock full marks. Rongjing felt that he was not awake in an instant, and there was nothing in him worthy of Xieling's tracking. Xieling, am I a ghost? What is your expression? Rongjing, of course you are not a ghost. If you have to come here a few times, it will be more terrible than ghosts. Whoever wakes up and suddenly sees someone in the room will not react better than me. If I didn't beat you to death, you are considered brothers and sisters. I can't afford to offend, so just shut up. Xieling watched Rongjing fold the quilt in an orderly manner, put the clothes on the hangers into the bag, fold neatly one by one, with no distractions, when he didn't exist. It was the first time Xieling saw a person folding a quilt in a hotel room, and he also folded it into dried tofu. Xieling admired soldiers, so when he saw that his younger brother had this habit in life, he somehow felt relieved and his eyes were all comfortable. Was Rongqing like this before? Rongjing hardly lived in Xie's house when he became an adult, and Xieling had no impression. I always feel that Rongjing is different, as if his attitude towards him is a little better. The sense of estrangement that could never be broken was silently torn apart a bit. It's not obvious, it's like an illusion. For 10 years, his little brother hides when he sees him, and he shakes like a sieve when he hears him, as if he is a scourge. I feel chilled too many times, and I don't bother to care about it. Even if it is encountered, it is mostly based on lessons. The soft and the hard must always be useful, otherwise what should be done if it becomes crooked? If it wasn't for the little brother that felt a little change in the previous call, but this time he happened to meet him again, he really didn't want to come over, he is not a masochist, specifically to see how the little brother repels himself? Xieling covered the corner of her mouth and suppressed her smile. He got up and opened the heavy curtains, and the light instantly illuminated the room, illuminating the two people clearly. Assistant Zhou Xiang came to the door and knocked on the door. Mr. Xie, Zia's assessment report has come out. Zhou Xiang said hello to the brothers who had not been in harmony inside. Little master, it's been a long time. Rongjing nodded in response. Isn't it a long time since I've seen each other? The original owner has never returned since they fell out with Xie's family. Come out when you're done. Xieling said as he walked out, took the ad that Zhou Xiang handed over, and looked as if he was waiting for Rongjing. Rongjing glanced at Xieling in surprise. In his memory, this elder brother was very impatient with the original owner and would leave after a few words, let alone wait. This elder brother is well known in the financial world. He is known for his precious time and stingy. Talking to him must be calculated in US dollars. He is a famous pick. There was an interview once that he didn't like to wait for people, because no one had more time than his. The original owner was very afraid that Xieling was not unreasonable. No matter what Xieling did, he was strong and had a strong dominance. However, Rongjing was slow to react and didn't receive the opponent's aura very much. When he was unfamiliar, he would not force himself to fight the evil forces, quickly sorted it out, and followed Xieling out of the house graciously. Zhou Xiang followed with a wink, and took the shopping bag Rongjing bought yesterday. Xieling glanced at the shopping bag unsatisfactorily. Are you going to wear this stuff to a party? What a mess! This is actually very easy to misunderstand. The original owner has heard many similar things before, and always thinks that Xieling is laughing at the birth of a soil bun, because he looks down on him. In fact, Xieling and the original owner were born differently, and their concepts are different. In the same sentence, from different angles, understanding will be very different. Seeing that Rongjing has become a dull gourd again, Xieling is even stronger. I'll let you order a set when I go back. Xie family must at least dress appropriately. Rongjing has his own aesthetic for dressing, and of course it is good to customize it, but he doesn't wear it much except for formal occasions. He prefers to match it by himself, and no one knows what he needs better than him. He could hear what Xieling didn't look down on, but she didn't agree with it. Just wear it casually, there is no need to customize it, how old-fashioned. A little playful warming up the originally rigid atmosphere. Do I look how old is my body? Zhou Xiang thought that there was going to be a cold war again, and he was greatly relieved when he saw the young master round up the topic. Gosh, if you want to leave today, the vice president will be sulking again. Xieling took a closer look. It was an off-white sweater of a fast-moving brand. Underneath were black slacks, very ordinary clothes, but it did look very comfortable on Rongjing, which made this kid's legs longer. Xieling didn't object anymore, just sneered, "You mean, I'm very old-fashioned?" Involuntarily glanced at the metal frame on the aisle, looking at the vaguely reflected figure inside, it was still magnificent. Rongjing realized that Xieling only wears custom-made clothes. What he said just now didn't mean anything. The relationship between this pair of brothers will not be the way you come and I will be getting colder and colder, and they will all twist and interpret each other's words. Rongjing gave his own opinion, "I can't see the difference in your suit. Brother looks about the same age as me. Try another color next time." In memory, Xieling's clothes were always switched between bright black, deep black, and matte black. Xieling only felt bells and whistles, but was a little satisfied with the meaning of his brother's words, and his eyes were milder. The more we talked, the more weird it became. After we have known each other for 10 years, Rongjing has never been so comfortable talking to him, and even dared to raise opinions. "Do you remember what I said yesterday?" Xieling doubted seriously. Rongjing didn't remember what he ordered. Who in the whole Xie family wouldn't worry about what he said was just this kid? "I have not forgotten, I have already bought the clothes for the dinner party." Rongjing saw two Oga standing next to the elevator. He changed his clothes and changed his gender by the way. He didn't recognize that one of them was the drunk he brought back last night. It just feels that because of the approach of a few of them, an Oga with an outstanding temperament from the back suddenly tightens. This kind of reaction is very subtle, and it is possible for a person to have this kind of reaction when he is nervous or with qi deficiency. Rongjing remembered that the world had that kind of Oga that was very sensitive to breath. After a pause, he motioned Xieling to take the stairs next to him and bypass the elevator. They are just a little troublesome, but for Oga, they have a more comfortable space. Although Xieling was strange, Rongjing wanted to exercise, and he had no reason to object. At the entrance of the restaurant, Xieling suddenly stopped and looked at Rongjing. In the past, Rongjing didn't like to get along with him. Except for being forced to be helpless in the years when he was a child, he later avoided him from a distance. In fact, he and Rongjing have drifted away over the years. He has not been with Rongjing for a long time. Have a good chat, let alone eat alone. Today, I am willing to have breakfast with him. Can a person change so much? Rongjing felt goosebumps in his eyes. Xieling's eyes were very dark. When he looked at people seriously, he was cold and heavy, and he felt a sharp sense of wind and rain. Rongjing was a little uncomfortable. What's the matter? Xieling narrowed his eyes slightly. Go ahead and talk about it. The waiter led them to the position by the window. Xieling did not move in the seat, and deliberately ordered, "Help me get some." Speaking of connecting to the ad that he carried with him, there was a video report from the other side of the ocean. It was still a video report from the company branch at night. Xieling put on a Bluetooth headset and listened, occasionally replying a few words. Rong Jing could feel Xiaoling's hot and cold, and occasionally a skeptical sight. It is impossible to say not to be nervous. Xiaoling has a high IQ, a flexible mind, and is not a person who is easy to deceive. But he doesn't want to pretend, he doesn't know when he can go back. If he is unlucky and can't go back, should he always play the original role? Most people shouldn't think that the soul has changed people, right? It took him several days to believe that he had changed the world. Who would be so whimsical? However, Xiaoling noticed his changes, and he was still a little surprised. He was originally worried about the mother of the original owner, but he didn't expect that this unfamiliar elder brother would be the first to discover it. No matter how nervous Rong Jing is, he is still calm on the face. He himself is a lazy person who can save his expression. He chose a few of Xiaoling's preferences in his memory and sent them there first. This hotel's breakfast, lunch, and dinner are all buffets. Unlike other hotels, its Chinese food is very rich, including Cantonese dim sum. It is so rich that he saw several foreign guests have eaten dozens of plates. Although Xiaoling was chatting on the video, his eyes were always observing Rong Jing. His face was still the same, but he took a closer look at the earth-shaking changes in his temperament. In particular, there are many B or even O around him. They cast their eyebrows at him. Seeing that the little brother is so popular, Xiaoling has a sense of pride that my brother has just grown up. But the child didn't squint, didn't notice the enthusiasm of the people around him, and didn't know if he didn't see it or didn't care at all. It seems that Rong Jing has grown up completely where he can't see, but he has missed a lot, and Xiaoling's heart is a little empty. Rong Jing chose his breakfast, divided into different categories, and made him a bowl of noodles with shallots, and specially asked the chef to put lard in it. That's right, no one except his family knows that he eats noodles and bibimbap like to add lard. This is his little brother, such as fake replacement. The only difference is that Rong Jing used to reject and hate him, as if he would never accept anyone from the Xie family, and now he doesn't feel so much hatred of him. After Rong Jing sat down, the entertainer brought morning tea, and Xiaoling personally poured a glass of milk for Rong Jing. Rong Jing glanced at the hot milk, and Xiaoling said flatly, "Calcium supplement." Rong Jing didn't think he could grow taller at this age, but forget it, he didn't like to argue, and he drank it in a sigh of face for Xiaoling. Xiaoling glanced with satisfaction, in a good mood, and asked casually, "How's the breakfast here? Any ideas?" Actually, he didn't expect Rong Jing to say anything useful, but he just found a topic bluntly. "It's a lot of thought. I remember that the buffet breakfast in most hotels is mainly Western style. Most of them are similar to each other, and it is chilly when eaten in the stomach. But there are many Chinese-style meals. The ingredients are very fresh and taste. It is also very authentic, especially Cantonese and Cantonese dim sum, which are very popular." Rong Jing said that he had noticed just now, and the crowd in the self-service area was crowded. A comfortable and distinctive breakfast can add a lot of impression points. Even Rong Jing drank the warm boat porridge and felt that the money was not a waste of money. Although his tone is plain, he speaks slowly, giving people a very sincere taste, and people can't help but listen. Rong Jing's last life happened to go to the cover of a national photography magazine at Christmas. The shooting location was not far from Chinatown. He found that on Christmas Day, more than 90% of the stores in the country were closed and there were almost no people on the street. The only lively thing is Chinatown. Almost every Chinese restaurant is full of people, and most of them are locals. Eating Chinese food on Christmas has gradually become a national custom. Rong Jing has always felt that to enter a new area, he must integrate into the local area, so I talked about this phenomenon with the locals, and most of them were the following kinds of answers. "Because other stores are closed, where else can I go? It's the most lively here, and other places are frozen as dogs. I've been used to it since I was young, and this has become our culture here." Among them, the Cantonese-style morning tea snacks are more in line with Western tastes, and what this hotel makes is just like the sweet taste that Rongjing has eaten. From this very subtle point, it can also be seen that the operators have ulterior motives to understand the taste of customs, taking into account the needs of Chinese and Western customers. Rongjing took a bite of the barbecued rice rolls. Those experiences seemed to be yesterday. There was a little nostalgia in his eyes. The new world was very interesting and there was nothing wrong with it, but he even wanted to return to the original place. Because of human nature, most people tend to prefer the places they are familiar with, where there are familiar people, things, and careers that are in full swing. If you can remember who Gu Xi is there any hope of going back? Xiaoling felt Rongjing's sudden depression, and gave him a soup-filled crab noodle bag. Eat more. Rongjing was startled, and lowered his head to suppress the upwelling sourness and warmth. Xiaoling coughed when Rongjing praised herself just now. Breakfast is a high-paid national 5-star chef. Rongjing nodded, no wonder. Few hotels can do so much with breakfast. Most of the breakfasts come with the room, so you can count on how good the gifts are. This hotel does the opposite, and it does make sense for it to be expensive. You have also graduated for a few months. If you don't think about doing anything else, you want to go to the dead end of acting. The question just now was also Xiaoling's temptation. Apart from Xia's father, he is the person who opposes Rongjing Film Academy the most. What will he do for acting? Is there no food at home? Ask him to show his face. What I'm talking about can be done through observation. It's better to be a big brother in business. I know myself. Rongjing thought the other party was testing his own ambitions. Now you have learned how to praise people? You have reached the top of your pocket money this month, so you won't add it. Xiaoling thought about it and encouraged him, you are talented in this aspect, at least you can see Cheryl at a glance. It's unique, no matter how old you are, your eyes are not as long as they should be. Thanks, Cheryl. This hotel seems to be called this, it wouldn't be so coincidental. Rongjing was stunned for a moment and looked directly at Xiaoling. Finally, after a slow beat, he realized why Xiaoling knew which room he lived in and could enter the room unimpeded. Xiaoling's expression changed, and his tone was dangerous. You really forgot? So angry. This brat is so indifferent to him. How dare to really ignore everything about Big Brother? This brother, I really don't want it. No. Rongjing immediately concealed his shocked expression, guilty of his head to eat. The original owner didn't think he was a member of the Xia family, and he would not care about the industry, let alone Xiaoling's acquisition. How could he know something that the original owner didn't know? I didn't forget what you paid for the room, broke in. It's so dry at a young age. Why, the wings are hard, you want to break it clean with me. The more Xiaoling talked, the more angry, the colder and harsher he talked, which really got angry. No one near their table dared to approach them. Except for Rongjing, who was in front of him, Xiaoling's coercion was unharmed, everyone else felt obvious discomfort. Rongjing noticed his surroundings, and was a bit unable to resist Xiaoling's repeated questioning. He also felt that Xiaoling was not indifferent and disliked his origin as the original owner thought. He simply found an excuse to go back to school today, and went straight away. Before leaving, Xiaoling asked him to add his WeChat account, and his attitude was still tough. Rongjing, who had found all reasons to refuse in the past, unexpectedly agreed this time. It took 10 years for Xiaoling to finally add the younger brother's WeChat. He did not go to see his brother's circle of friends. He only looked indifferently at the people who wanted to run away when he saw him. I don't want to happen a second time. Rongjing heard the previous sentence. This is for him to contact regularly. The latter sentence, what happened yesterday, did you bring Olga to open the room? Is that something he can't open if he wants to? Does it mean that if Olga sleeps in a room with him, his chastity is not chastity? Rongjing declined the lobby manager to call a taxi for him. During this rush hour, taxis can block life in doubt. As the old saying goes, commuting in first-tier cities is either blocked, crowded, or blocked and crowded. He checked the route and found that the nearest subway to the film academy was a direct subway, which took no more than 10 minutes on foot. On the other side of the lobby, with their backs facing Rongjing, it was Gu Xi and his good friend Guan Hongyi who asked at the front desk. They wanted to settle yesterday's room rate, but they were told by the front desk that it had been settled. Guan Hongyi was still a little unwilling to ask, "Can I know who sent me here? I want to return the room fee to him." The front desk still remembers when she was delivered yesterday. She was obviously a beautiful blonde woman, but she turned into a delicate young man in a blink of an eye today. For transvestism, most people still can't accept it well. Guan Hongyi could feel the strange eyes around him. He had been used to it a long time ago, and he didn't care. The front desk was very polite and handed over the note with the address written on it. The gentleman said, "If you want to return it, please send it to this address." Guan Hongyi took it over and took a look. XXXX Film Academy was grade 12, and Lei Feng took it. Guan Hongyi and Gu Xi glanced at each other and couldn't help but laugh. "It's from the film school, your younger brother." Gu Xi nodded. "He graduated by skipping a grade, and he is indeed his junior at grade 12. The front desk is also a bit awkward. Who can think of their young master? It is really clear. Aren't such rich young masters very rich? This one is really a different firework. This letter seems to say that although it has helped you, since we are strangers, in order not to make you feel guilty, the amount of money to be counted must be clear. Of course, if the other party did not ask to pay for the room, the front desk would not show that note. Rongjing had planned to pay all by himself, but he thought he still had this kind of demeanor. Guan Hongyi, now I don't want to know the name. I can always give me the room number. I'll go up and say thank you. Such a rare species, it is a pity to let it go." The front desk still apologized and said that they cannot disclose the privacy of customers. This is a rule. Guan Hongyi was still a little bit reconciled. "Just thank you can't do it." The front desk continued to refuse with a smile. "I'm really sorry." For the young master's message, Mr. Xie personally gave the order. "And that guest has already left. It's 11 o'clock behind you, just walking out." Gu Xi couldn't see Guan Hongyi's thoughts. He was delighted to see Lai Xie again. He dragged his friend and dragged him out, while whispering, "Don't embarrass others." Seeing their attitude, they also know that they definitely won't. Said. Guan Hongyi sighed, "Isn't I reluctant? If you see it, you can't help it." Gu Xi smiled faintly. The wind in the late summer blew a pool of spring water, only a small smile, but also thrilling. Guan Hongyi looked at Gu Xi, and felt that he was thinking too much. Only when others couldn't help Gu Xi would not be interested in anyone. Nothing is possible. Buffet. After Rongjing left, Xia Ling's expression instantly cooled down, and as soon as he stood up, a violent person appeared at the door. The visitor has dyed red hair, has a flamboyant temperament, and his outfit is of great value, just like a walking cash machine. "Brother Xie, wait a minute." Xia Ling turned his head and glanced, and recognized that he was a celebrity from the Shanghai stock market. He was nicknamed the Prince by younger generations of ancestors. He was the only heir of the Wu family. From black to white, influenced by the earlier atmosphere, it was very arrogant and domineering. Wu Xiao. Wu Fuyu doesn't care about Xia Ling's cold face at all. Xia Ling is not of their generation. Although he was only a dozen years old, Xia Ling already had real power and was a typical child of another family. Even Wu Fuyu did not dare to put on airs in front of him. He was massaged all night, but his neck still hurts. He went to the hospital to take a film. The quack doctors said that he was only sprained and there was no serious injury at all. The expression seemed to be saying that he was lying, and Wu Fuyu was so angry that he didn't sleep all night, and he was almost incontinent in pain. Isn't it a serious injury? Are they all blind? He must find that bastard. He painstakingly drew a portrait of a person with his own hands and gave it to Xia, hoping that he could help find someone. His family originated from the Shanghai Stock Exchange, and there are no outlets in these 4 or 9 cities. Of course, it would be better to find a local snake. Xia showed no expression on her face when she saw this so-called portrait of a person. Zhou Xiang, the assistant behind him, twitched his mouth, and glanced at the self-confident young Master Wu. A simple stroke like a little monster, where can they find someone? Ghosts can only be found when they are found. Does anyone in this world look like Godzilla? The author has something to say that Wu Fuyu is not telling each other. They all say that I am a modernist Picasso. This chapter is mainly about family love thanks to the little angel who threw the mine, the actor Duo Kaiu, Kinju, My Dear Meow, Lit Li He, Chen Chi, 10 and 2, 3396918, singing in the daytime, drinking wine in the day, and one light shirt, thanks to the little angel who irrigated the nutrient solution, 10 bottles, 7 bottles of Chinjiu Hot Late Autumn, 0075 bottles of like, Shikung, Dengying, Smile, 4 bottles of Ohuo, 3 bottles of Big Squirrel, King Mo, Zhai Bei Journey Time, Winter Fall, Ayu wears a small skirt and a bottle of Yanfen for Gu Chenzhou. Thank you very much for your support, I will continue to work hard. Zhou Xiang thought that Wu Fuyu was joking, and confirmed again, are you sure you want to find according to the painting? Wu Fuyu felt that his question was inexplicable. Of course, it's him. Although it is not similar in appearance, it is similar in spirit. Look, it's cruel, exactly the same. Zhou Xiang could see that young Master Wu really felt that he was fine with painting. How could Wu Fuyu remember what the passerby who happened upon him looked like? If he met him again, he would recognize it. He only remembered that the person was taller than himself, and he looked like a dog, and was the kind of look that was particularly good at hooking. Now, he originally painted the temperament of that person, he felt that he was a soul painter, and he painted the essence. Wu Fuyu is confident in Xia ability to do things, then please come to Brother Xia. Xia handed the portrait to Zhou Xiang and gave a simple Xia words outside were brief, but they always had an unquestionable taste, which was convincing. Wu Fuyu knew that it was done and smiled and said that next time he invited to eat, he would hold his sore neck and left again in a rush. Although Wu and Xia's family belonged to the north and south on the map, they had business contacts. His father told him to move with Xia more after he came to Beijing. The root cause was the existence of Xia, which should not be underestimated. Otherwise, there are so many hotels to choose from, why did he choose Xia's? This is the skill in the mall. I don't know that I support your home, but when I came to Shangjing, I used your home for food and accommodation. The number of times is too much, the face is given enough, and there is no benefit in the short term, but it gives people a good impression. This kind of long-term investment is not uncommon. Of course, in addition to these small things, efforts have also been made in other areas. In other words, if I need your help from the family in the future, then you have to make a thin noodle. So even if Wu Fuyu has never seen Xia a few times, it is natural to ask for help. Xia looked at the back of Wu Fuyu's departure, and said, this heir, the Wu family has spent a lot of effort training. I can't look at the tune, people look down on the age, but doing things in chaos and order. Zhou Xiang looked at the abstract painting. Mr. Xia, can we find this person? It is epic difficulty to find it. The corner of Xia mouth raised slightly, what are you looking for? I'll forget it after 2 days. The child is fresh and fresh. Zhou Xiang folds the portrait directly, and it seems that he will be able to throw it away later, yes. Xia has no interest in other people's homes, and still remembers her own children. Do you think Xiaojing has changed a little bit? Zhou Xiang didn't feel anything, this. Apart from finally adding you to WeChat, Don't you still run away when you see you? What's the difference? Xia Ling asked and replied, become a bit filial. Zhou Xiang ah, yes. It's good for you to be happy. After a while, Xia Ling thought of asking Rongjing if he still wanted to act. Although the younger brother slyly avoided the topic, he obviously didn't give up on acting. He just can't figure out what's so good about acting. Who can enter the entertainment industry? At this time, several project leaders within the company came to the hotel to meet Xia Ling, and the assistant led everyone to the car outside the lobby. Xia Ling first asked about this year's film and television investment plan, and after hearing the report, he looked at the person in charge of the film and television department with a calm face. None of you are allowed to help him. Xia Ling gave the order to die, and all film and television projects related to the Xia family will give Rongjing a red light. He didn't know how to do anything, so he let Rongjing see the reality clearly. He didn't believe that with Rongjing's 4 years of squandering his achievements, he would be able to make a name for himself in the future. Don't children in the rebellious period just don't hit the south wall and don't look back? Then let him bang, and only know what is right for him until his head is bleeding. Everyone should naturally be that the Beijing Film Academy is regarded as one of the top film and television academies in the country. It sends so many people to the entertainment industry every year, only a few of them are brilliant, and most of them are submerged in this army. The person in charge of the film and television department actually had an impression of Rongjing. At that time, he didn't know the relationship between Rongjing and Xia's family. He just noticed that Zhang Rongjing's military training photos during his freshman year noticed his unique conditions, and that photo was once a god. After a series of performance accidents, people in the circle will no longer pay attention to such an empty-looking scrap. From the perspective of the person in charge, Rongjing's road was broken 3 years ago. No one is optimistic about saving life. This is the case in the entertainment industry. Newcomers cannot make mistakes. Who dares to invest if they make mistakes? On the other side, Guanhong Ai sighed one after another at Guanhong Ai, who had already given up on going to Rongjing information. Gu Xi made fun of him. I heard that you will live less than 40 seconds with a sigh. If you continue to sigh, you will live less by 1 day. Guanhong Ai thought true or false? Is there any scientific basis? Gu Xi is attentive. Well, people have different opinions. You will have to see the producer later, and then make up the blocking spray. You haven't sprayed it all night. Guanhong Ai still has hangover sequelae, and finally remembered that she hadn't sprayed since yesterday, and her breath hasn't come out yet. I just opened the bag and found my usual spray, but I saw a new one in the corner. This is not mine. Who put it in? As he said, in the vague memory, in the dim driving back seat, there was an alha who asked him to spray, and the back was directly put into his hand. It's the offer whom he can't get the contact information. Alas, if not, the world is not worth it. Gu Xi looked at the Watson's Rose Garden spray, and a little believed that alha was really just unlucky and corrupted by Guanhong Ai. Poor guy, he posted money and was worried about it. It's not easy to live. Bless you not to be stumbled by Xiaohong. The two are about to part. Guanhong Ai and Gu Xi are on the phone, listening to the conversation. Seems to be about to record a variety show. Now you have to contact the program yourself? Where's your agent, Yang Qi, dead? There is no such thing as a popular artist who contacts the program group by himself, and the price drops too much. My contract is about to expire, and he has other artists in his hands, so he can't take care of it. Gu Xi only briefly explained. Moreover, there was a tin wedding banquet between the rich family owner and his wife tonight, and he got admission. Voucher, I'm going to take a few newcomers to show their faces, and I'm busy styling them now. Start styling in the morning, match clothes, choose jewelry, do hair and makeup, and get to the banquet venue at around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Guanhong Ai knows that this dinner seems to be hosted by the real estate tycoon Xia's family. Only a few people with good looks are invited. Only a few people in the entertainment circle can get admission tickets. Occasion, maybe, are you planning to go to? Gu Xi raised his hand and lowered the brim of his hat. He felt that the sun was a bit dazzling and uncomfortable. Go, I have no other chance. Guan Hongyi knew the reason, and didn't want to mention this painful topic for Gu Xi again. Guan Hongyi immediately turned to the topic. What variety show did you shoot? Gu Xi A Day of a Star, I asked them to come to Cheryl's door. A Star's Day is a new variety show. In each issue, 3 celebrities will be invited, and several photographers will follow the celebrity's itinerary with a miniature camera all the way, and then edit, during which there will be 7 in the studio. Celebrity guests commented on the hot spot, because each issue will have a popular traffic, so its broadcast volume has been steadily increasing. In order to squeeze Gu Xi's value, the company will go crazy to receive notices to Gu Xi this month when the contract expires. Guan Hongyi doesn't guess or knows that Gu Xi might not have a rest for several days. This should be recorded at least until 5 or 6 in the afternoon, and you can't afford to follow you all the way. Guan Hongyi was full of guilt. What do you drink so much? If something happens to you, I will never forgive myself in my life. Gu Xi said seriously. When I was a child, the north of the city was an old city, which had not been remodeled yet, and there was a mixed bag of fish and dragons. There are a lot of people who pick up for food and are called men. He was one of the garbage men when he was young, and Guan Hongyi picked him up. Guan Hongyi is like a relative to him. Sending the worried Guan Hongyi into the car, Gu Xi called the assistant Mo Dian so that he didn't have to come. The assistant followed him for 2.5 days without sleep. It was too much. Gu Xi waited for the crew, because there was no rehearsal beforehand, so the meeting place was decided by Gu Xi temporarily. The crew also knew that top-notch people like Gu Xi had no time to negotiate with them. Of course, they were accommodating the guests. However, this time something very disturbing happened. Not only did Gu Xi's agent suddenly increase the price before the auction, but the contact was not good. Had it not been for Gu Xi's timely communication and resetting the notice fee, their platform would have been ready to block this popular fried chicken. The host asked Gu Xi if he could start. After Gu Xi took off his hat and mask, she was still a little dizzy and covered her fast-beating heart. Sometimes he wondered if he would suddenly die one day. But before his sudden death, he still has a lot to do. After taking K-suxiaojuxin pill, he nodded. The camera is ready to be in place, and the host has a good impression of Gu Xi himself, so he leaned forward. I found that Gu Xi's face is almost free of pores when viewed so close. I think many people are curious about what skincare products you use. Gu Xi usually uses endorsements. In fact, nothing is useful today. He was looking for someone all night, and he was pure plain face on the mirror. Gu Xi said in his heart, ah, the pure plain face is a little panicked. Gu Xi paused filming, took out the small portable mirror, and took a look. Very good, still the most beautiful. The host originally thought that Gu Xi was the kind of beauty who could only look far away, with a hazy and frosty appearance. This sudden little movement is really unexpected. Trouble. Just pinch off the paragraph. Gu Xi was a little embarrassed. Okay. The host held back a smile. The filming continued, and the host asked a simple question: Did Gu Xi slept in the hotel last night? Gu Xi smiled and replied, I went to the studio to dub again yesterday, and I slept in a nearby hotel for one night. The photographer took a photo of the exterior of the hotel in a meticulous way. Of course, the name of the hotel will be coded in the later period, so as not to be said by the audience that the advertisement is all-pervasive. The dubbing is the TV series Lu Wang you just finished? I heard that this is your first time acting as the villain. The host did his homework before meeting Gu Xi. Of course, this kind of inquiry is also by the way. Help publicize a wave. Gu Xi. Yes, there was construction next to the location at the time, so there was a little difficulty in radio. Why did you think of playing the villain? After all, you really don't look like a villain. When the host asked, he was also really puzzled, because Gu Xi was too hot when Idol debuted, and the appearance of an angel made many people obsessed with him. Yan, it's hard for such a person to imagine what he is like as a villain. Gu Xi blinked, and under the camera, the thick eyelashes were like inciting butterfly wings, which looked particularly vague and seductive. Why can't I be a villain? Yes, of course. The host was stunned by the look, and his heartbeat missed a beat, and he couldn't help but agree. At this moment, it seemed that Gu Xi could not help but agree to anything. She thought of her colleague knowing that she was coming to take pictures of Gu Xi today, and said, "Don't get too close to Gu Xi, especially don't stare at him and smile." She didn't care at all, and shot so many celebrities back and forth. Watching too much is numb, and now she has arrived, Gu Xi can easily arouse the deepest and most hidden desires of others, and she wants to possess him even as a beta. They chatted a few words under the camera, and Gu Xi received the assignment from the director team to take the subway to the film school. Gu Xi received an invitation from the school half a month ago. Today, he is going to the college to give a lecture to the younger students. This is his itinerary today. The program team also felt that this schedule might have a hot spot, and almost all of the air volume of this episode fell on Gu Xi, and the other two stars were not as popular as Gu Xi. The task is as follows. On the way to the subway, if you are not recognized along the way, Gu Xi will win, and you can have a chance to refuse the task throughout the next day. If he is recognized along the way, he must cooperate with the director team to play games with the amateur who recognizes him. When each guest is on this show, they will be arranged with various thrilling mini-games to arouse the enthusiasm of the audience. Gu Xi's 3 years of empty windows, his popularity has declined sharply. Although there are now hit movies, the new fan viscosity is not high. It is precisely because he needs a lot of popularity to support him through this transition period. Holding the task card, Gu Xi didn't pick it up like other stars did. At this time, the car was already out of the way, and he glanced at the toy store outside the subway entrance. After hesitating, he asked, "Can I buy something?" The host is curious about what he is going to do, but they like guests who know how to be flexible. Gu Xi entered the toy store and actually got a simple version of the blue fat doll's clothes. The clothes were thin flannel anises. Only the doll's hood was round and thick. With the headgear, the appearance is completely invisible. But the one-piece suit is thin, and the figure can still be seen vaguely if it is put on the outside of Gu Xi's original clothes. The host has a hunch that the volume of this episode is stable. Gu Xi is too good at it. Such a glorious person, but able to be willing to image, is really not like Idol who is doing image management. With Gu Xi, who kept playing contrary tunes with the program group, it took minutes to find a hot spot. Originally, the director team felt that they had a great chance of winning this time. Which of these traffic flows to the ordinary people is not a shining star? You can see the difference in temperament, taste, and dress. Even the full armor is also the focus. I don't know that Gu Xi is ingenious. Who can tell that he is Gu Xi now? Now time is the end of the peak period for work, there are still many people. Although the doll clothes are attractive, but in the fast-paced peak period, people only look away at most, and most of them guess that this person wears it for work. All in one. Gu Xi entered the subway station unimpeded, and the 3 following photographers followed closely. During this period, I was stopped by the subway management staff twice. After communicating with the program team, I filmed again. I also found an excited staff member to sign her. Gu Xi had a good temper and signed one on her clothes. Rongjing finished the breakfast that made him want to escape earlier, and found the nearest subway station smoothly according to the phone navigation. When I opened the phone to delete the background program, I saw the movie that was automatically played yesterday, and I slipped it back to the place I didn't watch, made a label, and prepared to watch it later. He felt that Gu Xi's acting skills were really good. He was a very agile actor. If he could play against him, it would be very exciting. Rong Jing thought about it and shook his head again. According to the current fame of the original owner, which crew would choose him, and want to cooperate with the top stream, it is too weird. Can you cooperate with Gu Xi? No, you cannot. After sitting for a while, he arrived at the first 2 stops from the city center, and suddenly a lot of people swarmed. Rong Jing followed the flow of people to the middle of a carriage. Today's weather across the country is being broadcast on the subway's rail transit screen, so that office workers can use the most efficient time to get advice on their way to work. Suddenly a news bulletin was broadcast in the middle. A headless female corpse was found near a deserted construction site in the suburbs. According to the site survey, it was an Oga. Her limbs showed signs of struggling to varying degrees, and her head disappeared again. This is the 3rd crime this month. The police hope that people in the know can provide clues and also remind all Oga to go out as little as possible lately. After seeing the news, several Oga around Rongjing didn't look very good. It is difficult for them to gain an advantage in the face of most A, and how can they not worry about such a thing? It's so cruel, not even the whole body is left. Isn't there no surveillance on the roadside? Isn't it supposed to be surveillance all over the city? There is the old city reconstruction. There are already demolished and relocated everywhere. It is also a construction site. Who would install surveillance there? And, in the middle of the night, isn't it weird to run there? Yes, who would run into this wilderness in the middle of the night? Rongjing noticed that there were no street lights at that night in the news. Then there is only one possibility, that the murderer is very familiar with the place, so he can know the route even when the lights are dark. It may be someone who lives nearby or has lived there. The screen returned to the weather forecast again, and Rongjing thought habitually. As an engineering student, he can only judge basic information, but he can think of it. I believe the police have thought about it a long time ago, so don't worry about it. Rongjing was looking at the subway lights, and noticed a pair of sneaky hands appearing in a gap in the crowd not far away. They were quietly reaching out to a student wearing a short skirt, but the student suddenly turned around because of the flow of people. Did not let this subway wolf succeed. Rongjing frowned, paying attention to those hands, and vaguely saw a side face, of medium height, thin, and wearing a pair of black-rimmed glasses, looking like an honest office worker. The black-rimmed glasses seemed to see more plumper prey, like a mouse attracted by cheese, with a flushed face and even shortness of breath. Suddenly drilled in a direction Rongjing couldn't see, Rongjing's expression was faint. From then on, the person's sudden change of behavior and expression can be analyzed. This prey is absolutely in line with his wishes, and he will never let go easily. Rongjing, don't be nosy. You can't even manage your own Oniaker 3-point field, how can you get into trouble casually? Thinking like this, he couldn't help but stared at the man's unstoppable hand. He touched a white-collar worker in the middle, and moved a place after being stared at by the white-collar, and he could see that the goal was clear. After a few more seconds, Rongjing closed his eyes severely. After striding and squeezing past the place where the person disappeared, Rongjing was grateful that he was tall and had an innate advantage in finding people. He searched for a carriage but didn't find the person, and suddenly noticed a sneaky person coming out of the corner. It was the black-rimmed glasses. I was moving towards a person wearing a blue doll suit. Although it was a doll suit, because it was thin, I could still vaguely see the person's slender waist and hips. His black-rimmed glasses were breathing fast, his eyes were very poisonous, and he could tell at a glance, he was absolutely superb, but he was delayed by the doll's clothes. He breathed more and more rapidly, imagining the flexibility, staring at the tall peach hips. At the moment he was about to touch him, his wrist was pinched tightly by a big hand that appeared suddenly, but the seemingly light force seemed to be able to crush him. The severe pain made him uncontrollable. Screaming in an indifferent voice sounded, "Don't let go of Doraemon, are you a human?" The author has something to say that dying never let go of a cat. Zixi. Thank you for the little angel who threw mines, 2 soft candy, 1 Sunswoi, actor Duo Kaiu, Smile 007, Ching Shan Limo Yuan 1, thank you for the little angel who irrigates the nutrient solution. It is definitely not Zhan Wazhu, Green Orange, Nian Nian, Jiating, 10 bottles, March Peach Blossom is differently red, 8 bottles of Yunying, 6 bottles of glutinous rice are not sandwiched, Guzi, Dengying 5 bottles, 4 bottles of Dong Gluo, 3 bottles of Yintu and peppermint essence, 2 bottles of jelly beans, 1 bottle of green light sleeves and cuckoo bubbles. Thank you very much for your support, I will continue to work hard. The painful voice resounded through several carriages, attracting everyone's attention. The latest Dan Mi novel ranking, www.mtlnovel.com. Rongjing didn't have the slightest pity in his eyes, he pinched his eyes tighter, his face was frosty, as cold as a different person. Most of his expression was covered by the peaked cap on his head, only a faint blue shadow covered him. In Rongjing's eyes, not to mention how good the figure is under any clothes, that is a cat. A hard-working man who has toiled for his life and has to go to work to act as a cat without even taking off his work clothes. Is it because of this that Metro Wolf is unscrupulous? Because I know that the other party has no power or influence, no ability and no time to fight with him. Rongjing is really angry. This subway wolf has been a victim of harassment one after another. Whether it is a student at the beginning, a beautiful white-collar worker, or a doll, which one is not a disadvantaged group, it will really pick someone. Especially for the doll people, the last stop of the subway on this line is Happy Valley. If it is not for work, who would wear thin velvet on a hot day? How uncomfortable it is to be in a toy hood. Rongjing has experienced this work for filming in his previous life. Knowing that the temperature inside the cover not only rises by several degrees, it is humid and sultry, and sometimes it can't breathe well. What's the reason for living hard but being forced to take advantage of your alha? Although the world has changed, it does not mean that evil thoughts will disappear. There is no fairy tale in the adult world, but at least you can create a relatively stable place yourself. Rongjing said coldly, I like to harass people so much, why not harass Alha? He was bullying and playing pretty slippery. Most of the eyes around were condemned and angry, but few stood up. Black-rimmed glasses have long known that most people have nothing to do with them, and it is normal to watch with a cold eye. He can't do it every time, and many of the victims are afraid to speak out, so his courage is getting bigger and bigger. Up. But I didn't expect a few people around today to be walking towards him. Bah, bad luck. Rongjing didn't know what it was, but he reacted swiftly and shouted to the people around, close your eyes. Who would have thought that a subway wolf would carry an anti-wolf spray with him? Rongjing was bewildered by the shamelessness of this person for a moment. The black-framed glasses took advantage of this gap and aimed at the station to stop, and the moving door opened to get out of the crowd. The corner of Rongjing's clothes was gently pulled by a soft force. This force was like a feather flicking by. Rongjing didn't notice or even looked back, because he found that the wolf quickly disappeared from him. The opportunity was fleeting, and he rushed out almost immediately. Once such people feel that they can escape the sanctions every time, their malice will become more and more inflated. Rongjing disappeared in place at the same speed as a cheetah, leaving only Gu Xi, who just took off her headgear and wanted to see the person clearly. Her wet hair was still stuck to her sweaty face, and she looked at Rongjing Yuan dumbfounded. Going back. You let me see what you look like. Gu Xi hasn't rested for more than 50 hours, and now he's wearing a doll suit, even if it's thin, but because the doll suit itself is like a doll, it's still made of flannel, so he was stuffed in it, sweating, and still a little dizzy. After entering the subway, I quickly found a location and prepared to rest for a while. I didn't even bother to pay attention to whether anyone was approaching behind me. When he heard the familiar voice, he gave an initiation and immediately looked over. But the huge doll hood blocked his sight. Doraemon's mouth can be seen outside, but there is a thin layer of cloth, which is very fuzzy. At the moment he passed by, he saw the man's angular jaw and thin red lips in the shadow of the peaked cap, flashing past his dim vision like cold water. Seeing that he was leaving, Gu Xi almost immediately caught him, but the man didn't stop at all, so he left. After taking off the hood, I saw Gu Xi, sweating like a water spirit, and there were screams in the subway cabin door. Everyone couldn't believe that Gu Xi appeared here and was even more frightened than this. Oh! No, something better. The camera recorded Gu Xi's bewilderment throughout the process. According to the regulations, Gu Xi wanted to play a game with the amateur who recognized him, but he looked outside from time to time, expecting that person to appear again. Until the camera crew came to the rules of the game, he watched the hatch closed. And the people around do not remember the pervert incident just now, and they surrounded Gu Xi's surroundings. It seemed that the vicious incident just now was far less important than Gu Xi's existence. Rongjing swiftly chased him away, as if he heard crazy cheers and screams from behind. But the subway was already open. Rongjing glanced back, and without thinking about anything else, he wanted to catch the jerk. There were a few behind him who chased out a few men together. Although they didn't know each other, they had the same goal. Rongjing thinks he is selfish, he doesn't want to cause trouble to his upper body. Most of the time he just wants to protect himself and the people he cares about. But the one who bumped into him, what is this called? This is 1,000 miles away. This station is the peak of passenger flow. Rongjing's unfamiliarity with the subway station's route is fatal. However, Rongjing was not in a hurry to chase him. He immediately found the nearest subway policeman. He had a short video that he had just taken after following the past, and he did not forget to keep the evidence when he chased it. The video didn't stop until the other party touched the doll. And the subway police immediately notified the patrol officers outside several openings, and recorded the appearance and clothing of the person. Suspicious characters would stop him. Rongjing believed that the person had no chance to change his clothes in a short time. The entrance and exit with less people found someone who wanted to escape. Rongjing identified with several people who were chasing him, and coupled with conclusive video evidence, he was successfully detained and handed over to the police who came later. Even the subway police can't stand it anymore. Classmates, you'd better go wash your face and cool down. Only then did Rongjing realize that the place where the wolf spray was sprayed just now still felt hot and painful, and he didn't care about the follow-up, and ran to the nearby bathroom. It took a few minutes to cool down the whole face. Unexpectedly, when he came out, there was a person waiting for him standing outside. They were chasing together just now, the only A in a group of B, and he was a little relieved at that time. Throughout the journey, most people's evaluations of A have been polarized, and Rongjing also faintly feels the particularity of this group. That A stopped him and stared at Rongjing for a long time before he said Rongjing. Rongjing's temperament has really changed a lot, and the other party is afraid that he will admit the wrong person. Rongjing didn't pay attention to the appearance of this person, but felt that this person was A, but he did not expect that the original owner knew him. Rongjing concealed the surprise on his face, quickly searched for his memories, and extracted information about this person from the original owner's 20 years of memory, and said hello like the original owner, Ji Liping, long time no see. This person is the squad leader of Rongjing's level 12 acting opera class B. He is a social expert and very capable. He is also an officer of the student union. Because of the car accident performance of the original owner in the freshman report performance, the whole class B was ridiculed by the whole school, and was naturally isolated by the whole class. Ji Liping is one of the few who are still willing to talk to him. The original owner has a high degree of goodwill towards Ji Liping. However, just like Xieling, Rong Jing thinks that memory is only an aid, and he prefers to judge by himself. Ji Liping asked like a friend, "Today is the day when a graduate student comes out for the first time. Did you pass?" Rong Jing's previous life in the entertainment industry has also seen many types like Ji Liping. They know how to manage their own network and do not offend people easily. Even the original owner, who seems to be extremely downhearted, will hardly guarantee the day of turning over. This type of person is the most difficult to figure out, and in general, Rong Jing will avoid it. Rong Jing also replied as usual, "I don't know yet, you know I don't have a computer." Ji Liping suddenly remembered that Rong Jing's family was in a bad family. He remembered that when he was in school, he would rather eat rice by himself, but also provide for Qi Ying's high consumption. He also remembered that Qi Ying once held a day fed I Sangha Bao, which is Rong Jing bought it day and night part-time. Thinking of the class group saying that Rong Jing and Hua Qi Ying, the Department of Imaging, had broken up, and everyone was celebrating. Most of the classmates said that Qi Ying had finally escaped from the sea of suffering and no longer had to be stuck by a dog-skin plaster. Why didn't people know why? I ordered such an excellent oga as Qi Ying, and Leo had been thinking about eating swan meat, but he was finally beaten back to his original form. Similar words have not been interrupted in the past few years. That performance accident was a moment when everyone felt particularly embarrassed. Naturally, almost all the spearheads were directed at Rong Jing. At university, campus bullying is not enough, but rejection and disgust will still show up. It can be said that everyone can't wait to nail Rong Jing on the pillar of shame. Ji Liping thought that Rong Jing didn't seem to withdraw from the group and was always in the class group. But Rong Jing has no sense of existence, and everyone doesn't even remember whether he is in the group or not. Ji Liping didn't know if Rong Jing saw those chat records. Last night, the class group talked about it in the middle of the night and tried to ridicule them. They all wanted to see Rong Jing's jokes after breaking up in love. Some people even thought that he would commit suicide because of broken love. Everyone can see how much he likes Qi Ying. Don't be crazy if you are broken in love. Ji Liping found that Rong Jing's state was not as decadent as everyone thought. Although he did not participate, he somehow saw Rong Jing's indifferent sight, which was a bit embarrassing, and immediately invited, "I have a computer in my dormitory. Haven't changed the dormitory yet, do you want to come?" Rong Jing refused, "No, it's just convenient to look at the results." Ji Liping did not reluctantly, he also knew that Rong Jing went to school, looking at grades is only secondary, and it may be the main reason to find a tutor to clear the relationship. Ji Liping couldn't bear to say that, with Rong Jing's reputation, the instructors might have to remove him first in the retest. Ji Liping felt that it was too cruel to tell the truth, but he had to watch Rong Jing go to the wall without telling it. He and Rong Jing are not acquainted, and Rong Jing doesn't look like a comeback, so he doesn't know. Looking at Ji Liping's rich expression, Rong Jing could probably guess what the other party was struggling with, and proactively said, "You also go back to see the results." Ji Liping, "Well, have you chosen a mentor?" Rong Kyung wondered, "Will it be my turn to choose?" Ji Liping was choked. He really didn't expect that under the severe blow of a broken relationship, Rong Jing's mentality was surprisingly good. If you ask Ji Liping, is there any default or content for the theatre's postgraduate entrance examination? The first professional test is fair, and the scores of short answers, essays, noun explanations, ideological and political theory, English, etc. must be above the pass line. But when it comes to retesting, in all fairness, just 2 words follow the fate. For example, which tutor you are more familiar with, and it happens to be the review of the re-examination, which will affect it more or less. The re-examination itself is a more subjective choice. With a reputation like Rong Jing, even after the first test, the probability of passing the second test is almost zero. Most of the tutors have a status and reputation in the society. Who wants a student with a tainted reputation? I don't think you are worried at all. Is this worry useful? After the crisis was lifted, during Ji Liping's questioning, Rong Jing began to wander around the world again. He touched the corner of his clothes. When he went out to chase someone just now, he seemed to feel someone pulled him. Is it an illusion? They went back to the place where they took the subway before. There were a lot of people there, and there were usually many people on the subway. But today, the strange thing is that when the subway comes, not many people go in. On the contrary, they are all very excited. The whole scene seems to be countless. Pink bubbles. After asking, I found out that a subway train was quietly recording A Day of a Star, and the guests of this issue are said to be the dreams of countless boys and girls. Their looks alone are in the top 50 of the world's most beautiful list. Hope. You must know that the judges on this list are all Europeans, and Asians want to be on the list, but their appearance is not the focus. The fame is, and the recognition of the majority of the people is needed to be shortlisted, that is, the nationality must be high. But at that time, Gu Xi had only debuted for a year, and no matter how popular he was only a newcomer. He made a road purely based on his appearance, which shows that his lethality is universally recognized. Listening to Ji Liping's way of popularizing Gu Xi, his excitement was not like the way he had advanced and retreated just now. After a while, he thumped his chest and missed the opportunity of close contact with Gu Xi. Are you his fan? Nonsense, this is not it, which can escape his charm, it is definitely not a. Seeing Rong Jingping's plain appearance, Ji Liping doubted, why don't you seem to react at all? Rong Jing. I only pay attention to your Sichuan opera changes now. And why is the name Gu Xi appearing around from time to time since he traveled to the present, like the protagonist of a space, a concentrator, or something like that? Rong Jing felt that his thoughts were too whimsical, and crossing had already made his thinking unscientific. No, crossing itself is very unscientific. Ji Liping's face was very bad, as if it was a heinous crime for Rong Jing not to be obsessed with Gu Xi. You are over, Qi Ying's poison in you is too deep, I must brainwash you, let you see the real beauty. Let you see what angels are coming. Rong Jing wants to talk about what it has to do with Qi Ying, but the rainbow farts of your fans are really blowing out desperately. I just met a real husband fan. Rong Kyung felt that he still missed him. In his previous life, he also had a large number of fans. He had been to many types of fans. Seeing such a sincere cheer, he didn't want to pour cold water in front of a fan. Just listen quietly, responding to a sentence or two from time to time. Ji Liping, who was originally aggrieved, saw Rong Jing's attitude, and suddenly felt refreshed physically and mentally, and finally laughed. He suddenly discovered that Rong Jing is a good person, and he rarely sees a with such a gentle temper. Neither of them expected that not long after they arrived at the school, they saw the banners hung up by the school to warmly welcome the previous alumni, Gu Xi and Sun Jiarui, to give speeches at our school. Both of these are popular, and both have hit movies or TV shows, which in themselves can attract many younger students to watch. Ji Liping thought of what he had just heard at the subway station, and then opened the internet to search Gu Xi's itinerary Reuters. Sure enough, he saw several pictures of Gu Xi on Weibo on the subway, taking off the doll's hood and bending over to sign his fans. Although it was taken by passers-by, Gu Xi, who was slightly sweaty, still dazzled under the lens. Ji Liping immediately activated his contacts and asked his classmates to help him occupy the two best front row positions. Ji Liping go. In his heart, even if it is not a fan, who is willing to refuse to look after Gu Xi? But in front of him, something strange appeared. Seeing that Rong Jing still didn't want to go there, Ji Liping hated that iron is not good enough. There is one thing he didn't say. With Rong Jing's current development, this is probably the only chance to see a superstar. Rong Jing just didn't want to be disappointed again, he had already determined that Gu Xi's face could not stimulate his memory. As the hope of going back became thinner and thinner, watching it only made me sad. Hearing what Ji Liping said, he couldn't help but laugh. Ji Liping also noticed his own words, ah, pa, gu xi will live a long life. Forgive the believers for a momentary mistake. Don't you know, gu xi's next movie is a big production, a big team, and the actors in the opposing scenes I'm picking, I heard that gu xi has a veto power. Let's go, maybe because she is so handsome, she can be fancied. Rong Jing nodded inevitably, but he didn't think that Ji Liping's remarks could be adopted. Professional actors like gu xi would not randomly choose a little boy who is still studying and has little acting experience. Rong Jing looked for gu xi's information and found that gu xi had carefully selected both music and film and television works. Otherwise, where did the empty window suddenly become popular in 3 years? This is a person with his own principles. Such a person will not suddenly lose his mind and ruin his own future. Gu xi was in the lounge, applying makeup. At this time, the makeup artist realized that he hadn't put on makeup. He was surprised by the fact that several cameras were taken. Gu xi was absent-minded, as he played back the shocking glance on the subway and the sound of déjà vu in his mind. At this time, another long-debuted man who was speaking behind him also walked in. The guy looks handsome and stylishly dressed. Recently, he appeared in a remake of the idol drama Male Second. Because of his infatuation with the heroine, the silent guardian and sacrifice for his lover, his popularity has skyrocketed. Although the plot is cliched, it is unsustainable and enduring. Sun Jiarui saw Gu xi the most eye-catching when he entered, and his eyes lit up slightly. Gu xi, I didn't expect you to come so early. Gu xi was taken aback, pushed away the hand of the makeup artist, and stared at Sun Jiarui. Your voice. Sun Jiarui touched his Adam's apple. His original voice was not very good. In order to get the best voice, he took a huge risk to smecta for vocal tract change surgery. Now that the surgery has recovered, he is very satisfied with his current voice. Deep and magnetic, how many O will lose under his suit trousers? Unexpectedly, the famous and indifferent kaolin flower in the circle would also be fascinated, and he immediately put on his most handsome smile. What's the matter? Gu xi was in a daze. Is that your original voice? It was so similar to what he remembered. The figure is also a bit similar. Is it this person? Of course. A panic flashed in Sun Jiarui's eyes, but he quickly calmed down. At this moment, the host informed Gu xi that the speech was about to begin. Gu Ziqiang calmed down and prepared to give a speech first. But I couldn't help but said, Senior Sun will be free when the meeting is over, I have something I want to talk to you. Sun Jiarui was in ecstasy immediately. It seems that the flower of jailing is nothing more than that. When Gu xi came to the stage, the crowded small auditorium was full of applause, and there were many entertainment notes on the side. Gu xi was accustomed to the big scene, and did not panic at all, bowed lightly to the audience, and was about to give a speech. Suddenly seeing a tall student in the front row standing up, as if he wanted to leave, but was pressed down by his companions, Gu xi just glanced, and suddenly his eyes froze. Seeing that tall classmate, he narrowed his eyes slightly. The figure of that classmate looked a bit like that person. Gu xi couldn't help but look at Sun Jiarui, who was smiling and watching him from the stage. Sun Jiarui glanced at the ecstatic beauty and felt that he had lost all his 3 souls and 7 souls. He couldn't bear it if he wasn't right in front of the camera. Live rushed over. At this moment, Gu xi felt like an omelette on a pan, with the risk of being cooked at any time. Yes, which one? The author has something to say that Zixi is a little dizzy because many sweethearts are strange, explain that the function of mind reading is temporarily offline, and it will come up. This is a little white day-to-day sweet kick. There are too many dramas. I also want to change my taste thanks to the little angel who threw the rocket launcher, waiting for the warm air to come. Thank you for the 5 little angels who cast mines, Ming Jun, Snowfield, Frost Grass, Rare Gourd, Welded Doors. Actress Duo Kaiu, Xian Yun, ER1, thank you for the 47 bottles of Little Angel Bamboo who irrigated the nutrient solution, 40 bottles of Litsi, 20 bottles of Kingzi, 27331308, 20 bottles of YJ, 18 bottles of 0018, 16 bottles of lanterns burned out, Zhangzia Lan Seat 10 bottles, Zhuhua Carp, Actor Duo Kai 9 bottles, ZH 7 bottles, Dong Gluo, 5 bottles of radish skins, Deng Ying, 3 bottles of jelly, Ju, 45229216 bottles, Yun Shui Zhengzhen, the capital city is full of stunning beauty, cool, cold. Water in smoke cage. Happy every day, 1 bottle of herbivore, thank you very much for your support, I will continue to work hard. As soon as Rongjing entered the small auditorium, he was shocked by the entire scene of enthusiasm. Popular Tanmei novels, www.mtlnovel.com. When I came here just now, there were not many students. Apart from the members of the student union who set up a charity sale, the most were students who rushed to attend the class. What I thought was that when the heavy curtain was opened, what I saw was Ji leaping, everyone the picture I looked at was full of people. You must know that this is the film school, where the legendary stars are everywhere. Most students and teachers are not as enthusiastic about the stars as the outside world. Rongjing originally thought it was just a normal lecture, but he didn't expect to see it outside, but the inside was full. You could also see boys and girls holding Gu Xi lanterns, all of the 6 genders. Rongjing has a more intuitive understanding of the popularity of Gu Xi and another movie star. Gu Xi was able to rush to the top in a very short time without any work for 3 years. According to the routine in the movie, he is the son of destiny and the person who is favored by the gods. How can this situation break through the obstacles and go to the front row? Go, follow me. Ji Leaping said, seeing Rongjing still there, looking like he wanted to retreat. Hong Kong Zhen, you are such a Buddha, how did you get into the acting department? I think you are more suitable for the literature department. Ji Leaping has always felt that those who can stand out from the hundreds of thousands of people must be passionate men. But now, something strange seems to be mixed in. Rongjing said realistically, that's because you haven't seen my performance. Who stipulated that Xianyu could not enter the entertainment circle? Ji Leaping ruthlessly interrupted, I'm humble. There shouldn't be many people in the school who haven't seen your performance. Ah, the car overturned at the scene, and I forgot that I was no longer who I was. Ji Leaping has never seen a who has such a cold feeling towards O. Is it true that Qi Ying was really confused by Qi Ying? Qi Ying's charm is too great. But if you compare Qi Ying and Gu Xi together, it doesn't work. They are not in the same dimension at all, and the gap is too big. You must have true love for Qi Ying. They were so blind that they lost their judgment. I have nothing to do with him. Rongjing felt inexplicable why he always linked his ex-boyfriend. So even if we broke up, the things that the original owner did before are still deeply imprinted in the hearts of these classmates. Sometimes Rongjing really wants to get the original owner out and teach him that he should not just look at the face when he chooses a wife. Like him, he will never look at the face of. Although there are many people, but you think, if you happen to be caught by Gu Xi and become the actor of the new drama? Isn't it worth it? In order to inspire this salted fish Al-Ha, who just got acquainted with, Ji Leaping said again. Rongjing. Why do you think I can believe it? Rongjing followed Ji Leaping through the crowd while apologizing. Because they were late, they went to the first few rows, which naturally attracted some attention. There is no one on the stage, and the lighting is also controlled by the lighting department of the Electric Academy. The lighting is precise and aesthetic. There was only one host of the Academy on the stage, who was holding a microphone to illustrate the past works of the 2 stars, and the LED display screen behind it was also showing images. Near the 3rd row where they arrived, there were many familiar faces. Rongjing saw some students from the acting department. Obviously these graduated students came here to watch the lecture specially and arrived early. Rong Jing thought that Ji Liping had said before that Gu Xi's next movie was being auditioned, which was to make himself a chance. Rong Jing is very familiar with this kind of ecosystem. Only by seizing all opportunities to go upstream can he be selected. A group of classmates greeted Ji Liping, and Ji Liping asked, "Why are there so many people today?" It was too exaggerated, and it was almost impossible. "This is the time of class." A girl pointed to the position in the first row. "Today just happened to be Gu Xi participating in the recording of A Star's Day, you know they were in the third row, and the front row could not be occupied." Rong Jing looked at it and he saw a few people with cameras. It is estimated that there were photographers who followed Gu Xi with him. It's Gu Xi, only popular variety shows can help him. Ji Liping expressed his understanding that if he could show up in such popular variety shows, it would be more important than class. The rest of the people saw Rong Jing, who was deliberately suppressing his presence behind Ji Liping, and several girls said embarrassingly, "You are here too. I heard that you broke up with Qi Ying, really? Qi Ying seems to have an appointment. He said on the forum that you have submitted more than 100 resumes, but the crew did not accept it." "No way, it's so miserable." The girl who spoke realized that this was a bit too much, and then covered her mouth. This is a fact, and Rong Jing did not refute anything. The original owner is a very persistent person. He has indeed done it, and it is not more than 100 letters, but more than 300 letters. The original owner has been working hard to overcome the lens phobia, and the results have not been much in recent years. He wants to adapt slowly from group acting or cannon fodder, but no crew wants to give him this opportunity. The most important thing about group performances and cannon fodder is ordinariness. The original owner's face is too stealthy, coupled with his own reputation and the phobia that has never disappeared. In the case of no shortage of actors in the market, it is really not after a few trials. The crew is willing to waste this time. The rest of the classmates were sympathetic, disdainful, and disgusted. Most of them ignored him, and Rong Jing seemed out of place. The boy who helped Ji Liping occupy the position also whispered, "Why did you bring him?" Ji Liping used to just sit on the sidelines, but today he caught the pervert with Rong Jing, and later found out that he was a good person after getting along with him, so he was a little unhappy. As for Ji Liping deliberately increased the volume so that several students around him could hear him, temporarily calming down the whispers. Although Rong Jing often shields his surroundings, it doesn't mean that he can't see the unpopularity of the original owner. In that case, he doesn't have to stay here. At this time, the phone that Rong Jing put in his pocket vibrated. Rong Jing looked at Qi Ying. You must know that Qi Ying never called when he was in contact with the original owner. However, he just wanted to retreat and said to Ji Liping, "There are still many people standing. I should leave this position to those who need it more. Shhh, Gu Xi is here. Since he is here, I don't want to see it, thanks." He said. He pushed Rong Jing down again. After being introduced by the host, Gu Xi walked to the front desk, and Rong Jing couldn't help but glanced over, startled. This is a person who will make people see miracles as long as they appear. Even if Rong Jing looks at it with the most critical eyes, he can't pick out the flaws. However, Rong Jing only froze for a few seconds before returning to his senses. The surrounding area suddenly became quiet because of Gu Xi's arrival, and then there was enthusiastic applause. It would be inappropriate to leave at this time. Rong Jingze watched carefully for a while, and was a little frustrated, seeing Gu Xi alive, and he still didn't feel familiar. "Okay? How do you feel that he is looking at me?" The eyes of the two people touched in the air, and then moved away as if being electrocuted, and a slight electric current spread to the limbs. When Rong Jing looked over again, Gu Xi had already looked ahead and waved in the direction of waving the light, causing a small craze. Sure enough, it was wrong. After listening carefully for a while, Rong Jing found that Gu Xi had something to say, and talked about some interesting things about filming and his understanding of graduation. Did he look at me again just now? Although it is short-lived, their sights are communicated. Rong Jing looked around and found that they were all handsome men and beautiful women, full of people of 6 genders, especially Ao who swept the entertainment circle the most. Thinking that Ji Liping said that Gu Xi has the right to cast the next film, then it is undoubtedly a good opportunity for the students present to show their faces. The 3 major illusions in this world, he is looking at me. Thinking too much is a disease, and it is cured. There is nothing special about him, and there are so many people in the auditorium. How can it attract Gu Xi's attention? Thinking about this, Rong Jing calmed down again. Gu Xi's speech is about to end, and the following is a question session for students. At this time, Rong Jing looked at the cell phone he had forgotten just now, only to find that Qi Ying had already made 2 calls, but he had missed both of them. Ah, Rong Jing, you are promising. I rejected the original owner's dream several times. Do you want to return the call? Forget it, we're all broke up or don't involve too much. The first question mentioned Gu Xi's 365 Days of Lada, which was released not long ago. Apart from Gu Xi's name, Rong Jing also had an impression of this movie and couldn't help but his ears to listen to it. The girl said, to be honest, when I first entered the cinema, I didn't report much hope. I just wanted to contribute a box office to Gu Xi. She seemed afraid to tell the truth and made Gu Xi angry. The girl took a careful look at Gu Xi and found that Gu Xi only smiled softly at herself. The girl blushed involuntarily. Everyone knows that Gu Xi sang and jumped out of the way, and he didn't expect much of his acting skills. It was unexpected to be able to pass the line. Obviously girls are Gu Xi's fans, and this has aroused many people's approval. But you gave me too many surprises. I cried out of the cinema. After watching it for a few days, I couldn't relax. I watched the tidbits and learned about the entire shooting process. I found that many of your injuries were it's true, not makeup and post-production. It was filmed in Harbin, which is more than 30 degrees below zero. At that time, your legs were frozen and purple. Afterwards, it was also revealed that you had severe frostbite on your feet due to the filming of this movie. You stayed in the hospital for a period of time. What supported your filming? Aren't you afraid that you won't be able to film again? Not everyone knows the story behind the filming. Everyone present knows how much it cost Gu Xi to make such a drama. Of course I am afraid when I think about it afterwards. You don't know that I was nestled in the ward, looking at my hung legs, and always wondered if Director Liu tricked me into fattening me in first and then killed. Gu Xi responded humorously. In one sentence, he obviously knows how to adjust the atmosphere. After the scene became active, his expression became serious, but when I was shooting, I couldn't think of that much. There was a scene where I was dragging my sister away in the snow. That scene was because of props. The teacher's mistakes, Zhu Lu, and the wheel slipped out several times, but the little actor with my partner was blue with his lips, and there was no complaint. At that time, what qualifications did I have as an adult to complain? I just thought about that scene. I'll talk about it as soon as possible. Although there are only a few words, everyone can feel the determination in Gu Xi's tone, and Rong Jing obviously feels that Alha around him is excited by several percentage points. Gu Xi was born with arrogance and coldness. Such a serious and sassy appearance shines brightly, which can arouse Alha's most primitive desire to conquer. After Rong Jing listened to what he wanted to hear, he entered the standby state again. Ji leaping next to Rong Jing finally felt that he was not so nervous, and immediately raised his hand. Gu Xi's eyes moved slightly, and he clicked. Perhaps because the question just now was too heavy, Ji leaping raised a question that everyone in the room would like to know more about. For example, if we want to cooperate with you, would you reject students? Of course not, there will be an audition for a movie next, and everyone is welcome to participate. Gu Xi blinked, the radiance in her eyes was shocking. This is a person who is like walking pheromone anytime, anywhere. Even if no trace of pheromone leaked from him. Even Rongjing would involuntarily focus his gaze on this dazzling person, and then be in a daze. As soon as this sentence came out, the atmosphere of the presence was instantly mobilized. Gu Xi meant that everyone would have a chance. Obviously this is a more experienced star who can control his own rhythm. The next one. Gu Xi smiled and pointed to another. It was an Alha, tall and strong, and the question asked was not so friendly. Gu Xi, do you fart? There was an uproar at the scene. Although it was unfriendly, many people were also curious whether someone as elegant as Gu Xi would have such a physical need. Gu Xi smiled, and then made a suffocated expression, when there are people, I will endure it. The classmates in the audience couldn't help thinking, it's polite for someone to endure it, and let go when there is no one? Gu Xi is so upright, different from the coquettish outside. Obviously, Gu Xi was able to deal with some malice well, and dealt with it in a real and light way. Gu Xi glanced at Sun Jiarui's place, and got a triumphant smile from the other side. Gu Xi's fingers clenched slightly. Okay, the last one. Gu Xi looked around at the people who raised their hands, smiled and pointed in a direction. Yes, this male student in the black t-shirt in the front row. Rongjing was in a daze, until Ji leaping next to him gave him a push, and he realized that the audience was focused on him. Rongjing looked around. Hey, hey. Me, I didn't raise my hand. Is Gu Xi wrong, or is my body betraying my will? I don't know if it is an illusion. I always feel that Gu Xi's vision contains a trace of concentration. Rongjing looked at Gu Xi, whose face was too pale under the light, and asked awkwardly, are you hungry? In fact, he was called up suddenly, and he was still a little bit unreturned. Gu Xi was a little surprised. Rongjing, I mean, do you want to have breakfast first? He didn't have much to ask, and the time for the speech was almost over. If you are in poor health, why bother to hold on? When Gu Xi walked into the venue just now, Rongjing found that Gu Xi bends her body unnaturally a few times and then stood up straight. She covered her belly a few times in the middle of the speech. This action was actually not because of the occlusion of the podium. Obvious. Either he didn't eat breakfast or his stomach hurts. It is common for actors to turn upside down day and night, and Rongjing just blinded him. Gu Xi, who had always been elegant and calm, stopped for a moment. Even astonished, Gu Xi has a good expression management, and such mistakes are rare. Of course, he quickly recovered. His voice. Sure enough, the sound is more like a genuine product. It was definitely not because he thought Sun Jiarui was a bit wretched. Gu Xi did not answer, the silence for a long time. When the school looked at Gu Xi's condition, it was a bit wrong. It was a bit hungry and dizzy. He signaled Sun Jiarui to replace him. Sun Jiarui had already come to the stage. He took the microphone and smiled at Rongjing and said, this classmate wants to invite Gu Xi to dinner. Yes, but Gu Xi hasn't promised me yet, you may need to line up. Sun Jiarui's words once again enlivened the atmosphere, and Gu Xi also returned to the background. It's just that he hasn't rested. The school has sent someone to ask him if he didn't eat breakfast and if he needs to buy some for him. The host of the show repeatedly apologized, thinking that Gu Xi must have eaten this point, but he didn't know that he had been hungry. Gu Xi smiled and said that he didn't eat breakfast before, so he said that he would just eat the school cafeteria. He hasn't eaten it for a long time and he missed it very much. Gu Xi has always had a weird temper. You must do everything well to have the mood to eat. If you don't do it well, he would rather be hungry. Soon breakfast arrived. Gu Xi was actually a bit too hungry, but slowly nibbling on egg pancakes, and then glanced at the leather bracelet that she had taken on her phone. You don't actually want to be found by me, but what to do, the deeper you hide, the more I want to dig you out to see what species you are. Rongjing was yelled here and asked another inexplicable question. It was nothing at all, but it was just a small episode. At this time, Suanjiarui said, I hope you will ask professional-related questions in the next questioning session. This is also for your future consideration. Suanjiarui was more and more uncomfortable hearing Rongjing speak just now, and he also found that many people present had noticed this. He risked such a high probability of failure to complete the operation, and the final voice he made was actually similar to that of a film school student. And the other party's voice sounded more original, more mellow, and nice. Smecta claims to be able to make the most natural and beautiful sound, but the ones that have been made and the ones that are born are still like the sky. These words ignited the anger of the classmates who had no chance to get the problem, and the whispers sounded in Rongjing's ears. The voices of him and senior brother Sun seemed to be imitated on purpose. He didn't want to ask, why did he raise his hand? Do you want to sensationalize? Probably I wanted to express myself in front of Gu Xi, but I didn't expect that Gu Zili would ignore him. How could Gu Xi look at this kind of stuff? This is Qi Ying's admirer. After gnawing on the omelette, Gu Xi touched his stomach, which was no longer cramping, and came back to the bottom of the stage. Because of his arrival, the audience area became lively again. Gu Xi beckoned to the classmates, glanced at Rongjing's direction, and saw that the other party didn't care about his surroundings at all, let alone his presence. Gu Xi glared at Rongjing from time to time when he noticed the people around him. Gu Xi found a staff member and said a few words in an ear. The staff member came to the third row and said near them, Gu Xi asked me to tell you that I was really busy for breakfast, thank you. Rongjing slowly raised his head to look over until he came to him, and Gu Xi nodded towards him in the distance. Ji Liping was curious. How did you find out? Rongjing guess it. The people who listened upright. They wanted to guess too, and it attracted Gu Xi's attention. Ah, you shameless scheming boy. Ji Liping looked at the colorful faces of the few alha who satirized Rongjing just now, look at their expressions, ha 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 ha. This face is slapped. Gu Xi looked at Suanjiarui and then at Rongjing's direction. It is sad to find that these two people are wearing black t-shirts today, and the similarity of styles is as high as 90. Do you think I am dead? The author has something to say that dying's wife can't just look at her face. Ah, it smells so good. Thank you for the little angels who threw mines. 9, ignorant, GK. Inaccessible, pure white, round, and smile 0071, thanks to the little angel who irrigated the nutrient solution, 60 bottles of lanterns burned. I don't want to talk, I just want to brush 49 bottles, 30 bottles of one touch and a smile, 20 bottles of Yanzi, 15 bottles of fruit orange, Tsun, favorite main article, linen number 2, kneeling sing to conquer and read 10 bottles, 6 bottles, Dengying, Dongfang Fiyun, Yo. Yo 5 bottles, 3 bottles of peppermint essence, 2 bottles of small watermelon. The imperial capital city is full of stunning scenery, snowy fields, and all useful things such as dream bubbles and cloud water. Zen heart, hot oil shrimp, happy every day, 1 bottle of soft candy. Thank you very much for your support, I will continue to work hard.